The clock of all things allows Subai to upgrade even junk-tier gear into legendary equipment. He had obtained it as a supreme-level reward after clearing the 999th floor of the Tower of God video game. But right after that, he died, only to wake up in another world. To his shock, it turned out to be the very world of Tower of God itself. Combat classes, life classes, job transfer crystals, all of it was real here. Subai starts wondering if he has transmigrated into a parallel world where the Tower of God actually exists. Here, though, the tower has only been cleared up to the 99th floor. Subai feels this is exactly the kind of opportunity he wanted. If he is the one who cleared floor 999 in the game, then here he would be unstoppable. He thinks to himself that this must be the beginning of his peak life. Before he can get carried away, the teacher shouts at everyone to sit down quietly so they can receive their teleportation crystals. Once handed out, the teacher tells them to crush the crystal to begin their transfer and wishes them good luck and safe travels. The kids are hyped beyond belief, and even Subai admits to himself that he is quite excited. He crushes the crystal immediately. A notification greets him, welcoming him to the Tower of God. It says that personal information has been bound, data is being processed, and he should wait. Then another message dings, saying that the upload has failed, a pre-registered account has been detected, and it is attempting to log in. Subai feels his pulse race. If it can log into his old account, then he will be invincible. But soon another message arrives. The account information does not match, login has failed, and the system is attempting to clear data. Subai becomes furious. The thought of his old save file being deleted irritates him more than anything. And sure enough, in an instant, all his progress is erased. After the reset, he is welcomed once more to the Tower of God. He immediately recognizes the beginner town, the place where all new players gather to buy gear and supplies before stepping into the tower. While looking around, he receives another system message. Because he had cleared the 999th floor in the original Tower of God, he is being awarded the supreme artifact, Clock of All Things. He mutters in confusion to himself, wondering what exactly this is supposed to be. In the Tower of God, he recalls, items and gear are ranked by color. White for crude, gray for common, green for rare, blue for perfect, purple for epic, and orange for legendary. The Clock of All Things, however, is on a completely different level. This quality is marked as Supreme Artifact, a heaven-tier reward that has no level requirements. This effect is simple yet terrifying. Upgrade. The description says it is a clock that can successfully upgrade anything with a 100% success rate, though it comes with a very small price. The vagueness of the effect makes him uneasy, but since he is just a beginner and doesn't have much to upgrade anyway, he decides to look around town first. He even wonders if the tavern lady here would still remember him. Another announcement shakes the atmosphere. Since Yen Nation was the first to clear the newbie zone, all Yen Nation players are given a blessing. Stats increased by 10%. The crowd erupts in excitement, cheering for Sword God Lin, who had cleared it first. Subai checks his own stats and thinks aloud that since the Tower of God is now real, they can no longer treat it like a simple game. If someone dies here, they really die. Still, he notes, a 10% stat boost at the beginner stage is incredibly useful for job transfers. Then he remembers his supreme artifact. If it really works, even junk-tier gear can be upgraded straight into legendary. He tests it on his noob equipment. To his amazement, it succeeds. The Clock of All Things truly upgrades items at a 100% success rate. He stares at the newly transformed legendary gear in shock. Just as he is starting to feel overjoyed, another notification cuts him down. The system tells him that the action has failed due to insufficient coins. Subai suddenly realizes the harsh truth. He is completely broke. With a heavy sigh, he admits to himself that the first step in this world is not about conquering the tower, it is about making money. After all, in the Tower of God, money solves everything. At the Tower of God, beginners gathered in the thousands. The first announcement hit them like a hammer. Their beginner protection would only last 7 days. 7 days. Fail to change your class in that time, and you're expelled from the tower. That was why every newcomer's top priority was simple. Level up fast and get a class change crystal. Some were even willing to buy one from others at ridiculous prices. The crystals were that valuable. Even so, countless beginners were eliminated every single year. Inside the tavern, Subai leaned closer to the counter. He told the tavern lady that he had a few cocktail recipes and wanted to know if she was interested. One of them, he explained, was called Rare Beast Blood Wine, a drink so addictive it would keep customers coming back again and again. The tavern lady gave him a sharp look. She warned him that he'd better not be joking. Subai calmly offered to sell the recipe for 5 gold coins. He promised there was no trick involved. After a moment's hesitation, She agreed. 5 gold was nothing if the recipe was real. Still, she warned him that if he was lying, he wouldn't survive the consequences. Subai wasn't worried. He knew the recipe was genuine. It was only a basic tier 1, and he had knowledge of far better recipes tucked away in his mind. 5 minutes later, gasps filled the tavern. The wine glittered in the glass like a glowing red crystal. Everyone stared, wide-eyed. Then the crowd went wild. People pushed and shoved, fighting to get a sip. Exactly the reaction Subai had expected. The tavern lady tried it herself. Her eyes lit up. She immediately asked how many recipes he had, saying she wanted every single one. Subai chuckled. He told her he had 5 recipes in total, and since they now knew each other, he'd give her a discount. 20 gold coins for all of them. The tavern lady grinned. She told him he was quite the man, and that she was starting to like him. 20 gold coins in a single deal. Considering 1 gold meant 100 silver, and 100 silver meant 10,000 copper, that was a small fortune. More than enough to upgrade the clock of all things again. And the deal didn't end there. The tavern lady even gifted him a premium quality dagger as a bonus. Subai pocketed it, satisfied. Then, without lingering, he decided it was time to move on. The tavern lady tells Subai that if he ever comes across rarer wine recipes in the future, she would be interested in buying them too. Subai replies that she can count on it for the sake of their old friendship. The tavern lady laughs and calls him a smooth-tongued kid. Without wasting more time, Subai decides to upgrade his weapon. The process eats up a lot of silver, but the stat boost is more than worth it. As long as he manages to change his class during the protection period, spending money early is the smartest choice. Wasting time on slow development is not an option. He pours his silver into upgrades and is rewarded with some incredible results. With stats like these, clearing the first floor of the Tower of God will be as easy as slicing through a watermelon. Out at the beginner zone's outskirts, chaos is already breaking out. Players are fighting over wild rabbits. Subai frowns. He wonders why they're crowding around a creature like that. To him, the rabbit looks too cute to even think about killing. On top of that, wild rabbits barely give any experience points. Not to mention they don't even drop copper coins. But when the other players notice him walking closer, they start shouting at him. They tell him not to go into that unguarded area because it's dangerous. Subai doesn't understand what they mean by unguarded area. And then, without warning, a snake bursts out. A wind serpent strikes at him in an instant. One of the players panics and yells for Subai to watch out and come back quickly. He shouts that it's a wind serpent, one of the most dangerous monsters for beginners. Subai only smirks. He mutters that a tiny serpent like this isn't even enough to get stuck between his teeth. With one swift strike, he kills it instantly. The crowd freezes in shock. They whisper in disbelief, asking how he could possibly kill a level 1 wind serpent so casually. Subai waves it off and says there was nothing difficult about it. It only took a flick of his hand. Still, the other players keep warning him. They remind him that if a wind serpent lands a critical hit, it can kill a beginner instantly. With their weak gear and low stats, none of them could survive it. Dying once in this world means being gone forever. Subai just tosses a few copper coins toward them and thanks them for the warning. He tells them to take care of themselves too. The players wish him luck as he walks away, though once he's gone, their tone changes. They whisper to each other about how reckless he is. One of them complains that he even tried to help Subai but got brushed off coldly. He mutters that Subai will probably be dead in 5 minutes anyway. Meanwhile, Subai pushes further outside the safe zone. He notes with satisfaction that there are far fewer players here. That's exactly what he wanted. Another wind serpent appears, but just like before, Subai cuts it down in an instant. This really was just like the game Tower of Gods. But leveling up through rabbits and wind serpents felt painfully slow. Subai realizes that if he wants real progress, he will need to kill more monsters and push through the first floor as quickly as possible. More wind serpents suddenly slither out from the grass, but he cuts them down one after another. Instead of feeling tired, he feels excited, almost playful. Hunting monsters like this was definitely faster, but the drop rate was still frustratingly low. Then, an announcement shakes the entire tower. Season 10 of Tower of Gods has officially begun. All first-time players will receive the tower's blessing. Kill records in the beginner zone have been reset. Luxurious rewards await the first killers. New players, give it your all and surpass the pioneers. The words make Subai pause. Season 10, so that meant the race had officially started. If that was the case, he had no intention of letting anyone else take the first kill rewards. Not when he held the divine item, the clock of all things. Around him, the nobodies in the beginner zone whisper among themselves. They wonder aloud who will get the first kill this year. None of them dare to dream too big, though. They already believe it will go to one of the 3 great families of the eastern region. Those people were born with silver spoons in their mouths. Some even mentioned seeing the eldest daughter of the Lin family earlier. She was wearing a full legendary set, gear worth tens of thousands, maybe even millions. A complete set could go for tens of millions, and on top of that, she had high-level bodyguards protecting her. Compared to people like that, the ordinary beginners had no chance. So they put the thought out of their minds and go back to chasing rabbits. Meanwhile, Subai keeps mowing down wind serpents one after another. Then ding! A notification congratulates him. He has reached level 2. As the 823rd player in the eastern region to level up, he has been awarded a black iron chest, along with 2 free stat points. Subai nods in satisfaction. Not bad. But then, another system feature unlocks, the ranking system. He checks it and is stunned. So many players had already reached level 2. The top rankers were even closing in on level 3. He quickly realizes why he is behind. He had spent too much time earlier studying the clock of all things after entering the tower. That little delay had cost him a spot on the leaderboard. Still, he isn't worried. He tells himself that the others only have a temporary lead. Soon enough, he will be the one standing at the very top. With that thought, he focuses on the black iron chest he just received. He wonders what kind of reward might be waiting for him inside. Subai opened the black iron chest. Inside he found only a basic cloth armor and 30 copper coins. The system then told him to select which gear he wanted to upgrade. Now he had a weapon and some armor. He thought about it. The beginner boss wouldn't hit that hard anyway, so defense didn't matter much. What mattered was damage. He chose to upgrade the dagger. The system asked how many times. The maximum was 8. Each upgrade would cost 50 copper coins. Without hesitation, Subai decided to push it straight to the maximum. 8 upgrades in one go. More than 9 silver coins gone at once. But he could afford it. The stats refreshed. Only the first upgrade improved the base attributes, while the rest just stacked more attack power. Even so, his total attack was now close to 100 points. It was still labeled as excellent grade, yet the numbers were already on par with rare weapons. Subai knew then, this mysterious watch really was a legendary treasure. With this tool in hand, it was time to step onto the first floor of the Tower of God. The beginner boss, however, only spawned 10 times on the first day. Whoever killed it earned the right to enter the tower. Even teams could only secure a limited number of spots. And the first killer? Almost guaranteed entry. Subai hurried to the boss's location. But when he arrived, he heard the clash of steel and the roars of goblins. Someone was already there. He couldn't believe it. The first kill was supposed to be his. On the field, a group was fighting goblins. Their equipment shone with excellent grade glow. At the center was a young woman in full rare gear, Lin Yuchan, the Lin family's miss. Compared to her, Subai's dagger suddenly felt worthless. Lin Yuchan called for her second faction to regroup. She told the third to push forward and ordered her men to distribute potions quickly. They followed without hesitation. One of her aides told her they would soon reach the first floor at this pace. But Yuchan reminded him not to underestimate the Li and Bo families, since multiple routes could lead to the plains. Then her gaze landed on Subai. Her men noticed him as well. They asked who he was. Subai explained that he was on his own, not part of any team, and that they could continue their fight while he passed through. The Lin family members exchanged doubtful looks. For their battalion, fully equipped, it had taken half an hour just to clear the forest. Yet this young man had arrived alone? It didn't add up. Her aide warned Yuchan that Subai was trying to use their fight as cover to slip past and steal the boss. Yuchan immediately gave new orders. She told her 3rd battalion to cut potion use, and instructed them to coordinate with the 4th to stop Subai with everything they had. She wasn't about to let anyone take her first kill. The soldiers turned toward Subai, ready to block his way. Subai only sighed. To him, they were nothing but a nuisance. Subai frowns and tells them they're already fighting their own monsters, so why bother dragging him into it? The Lin family's assistant only sneers. In his eyes, Subai is just a level 2 rookie. He can't understand why this kid dares to resist. The man orders the soldiers to get rid of Subai quickly. He insists they cannot let the young miss lose her chance at the first kill. The troops rush forward without hesitation. Subai doesn't even feel threatened. Instead, he decides to toy with them for a while. Arrows whistle toward him. With a flick of his dagger, he deflects them all. The motion is so effortless that even Lin Yuchan herself looks stunned. More fighters leap at him, blades flashing. Yet they can't land a single blow. Subai slips through their formation, dodging with ease, and takes them down one after another. The assistant freezes in disbelief. To him, this is impossible. A level 2 rookie shouldn't be able to wipe out trained fighters in an instant. The men falter. Then they retreat. Subai warns them that while they may be stronger than the average rookie, they are still far from enough to bring him down. He moves again, striking with precision. Critical hits land one after another, dropping soldiers before they can react. The assistant blurts out in shock that these are critical hits. He can't process what he's seeing, but then he quickly shouts for everyone to fall back. Even while retreating, he grits his teeth and warns Su-bai not to get too cocky. He asks if Su-bai even knows whom he has angered. Su-bai dismisses him coldly. He tells the man that he doesn't care who they are. Anyone who stands in his way won't walk away unscathed. The threat hits hard. The assistant's face twists with rage. Before he can retort, Lin Yuchan suddenly cuts in. She tells her aide, Zhang Fei, to shut up. Then she looks at Su-bai and calmly suggests that perhaps they should make a deal. Everyone is stunned when Lin Yuchan suggests making a deal. Su-bai narrows his eyes, curious about the details. Yuchan studies him carefully. He arrived alone, yet from the way he fought earlier, he is clearly no ordinary player. She tells him that there can be no understanding without a fight and asks him to name his price. Her assistant, Zhang Fei, looks uneasy, but Yuchan silences him. Delaying their progress in the Tower of Gods would bring real consequences, and she knows very well that Zhang would never be able to shoulder that responsibility. Su-bai finally speaks. He tells them that the matter is settled. He guarantees he won't attack again. In return, they must pay a protection fee based on headcount, 1 silver coin per person. To him, that is a fair price. Zhang explodes in anger, demanding to know if Su-bai is dreaming. But Su-bai only replies coldly that this is the cost of keeping their lives, and asks if anyone has any objections. Once again, Yuchan cuts Zhang off. She accepts Su-bai's demand, but instead offers him 3 gold coins, saying he can consider the rest a token of friendship. She also asks him to add her as a friend. Su-bai then tells her that to add her as a friend, 1 more gold coin is required. To everyone's disbelief, Yuchan agrees. Those behind her clearly dislike the arrangement, but none dare to oppose her decision. Zhang mutters that this stranger is blatantly exploiting the situation. Ignoring him, Yuchan proposes something else. She suggests that Su-bai join them to hunt the beginner area boss together, so they can claim the first kill reward. Su-bai thinks to himself that the first boss in the eastern beginner area must be very important to her. He agrees, but adds a condition. He will lead the group. This pushes Zhang over the edge. He snaps that Su-bai must be dreaming. Lin family elites trained since childhood have no reason to follow a mere level 2 rookie. Su-bai remains firm. If they want to kill the boss, they must follow his orders. Otherwise, he has nothing more to say. He won't let anyone slow him down. Yuchan surprises everyone by agreeing to his demand. Zhang, however, protests again. He reminds her that Su-bai is a stranger and not someone they can trust. But Yuchan dismisses his objection. She tells Su-bai that, while he may move freely, leadership is something she cannot hand over. Su-bai doesn't argue. He simply says that if that is the case, then there is no need to waste more words. He turns to leave. Yuchan calls after him, asking if he doesn't want to reconsider. She offers him 100 gold coins. Su-bai only replies that the first kill reward is worth far more than 100 gold, and he won't let them waste his time. Zhang sneers at his retreating back, saying that this man thinks he can break the world record for the first kill. To Zhang, it is nothing but a fool's dream. Yuchan secretly doubts him. A solo player? Even I can't guarantee success, let alone him. Meanwhile, Su-bai sits by a rock and calmly checks his notifications. Now that he's stacked with wealth, he decides to upgrade his gear immediately. He spends 1,650 silver to skip the waiting time. The silver vanishes, and his weapon shines with new power. His stats climb, HP now over 300. With this, he feels confident enough to face the beginner area boss. Back in the tavern, people gossip. Some comment that this year's rookies seem unusually active, and the first kill of the beginner area will probably be decided soon. The tavern lady wonders aloud whether Yen Nation can hold on to that honor, reminding everyone that last year, their guild held the first kill record up to the 9th floor before being overtaken by a super rookie from the Beacon Nation, an SSS class profession. With a sigh, someone says Yen Nation hasn't seen an SSS rookie since Lin the Eternal Swordsman. If even one appeared this year, it would be a miracle. At the cliff, Su-bai descends quickly. The thought of the first kill burns in his mind. He cannot afford to lose. But ahead, he notices a group already fighting monsters. For a moment, he thinks he's late, but then his sharp senses pick up something. The faint trace of energy concealment powder is a cheap trick, useful only against monsters of similar level. Against high-level bosses, it's worthless. Still, it's costly, worth millions, and seeing it here tells him the enemies are well-funded. Dozens of fighters struggle against mobs while their leader watches from behind. Su-bai is relieved. The boss hasn't been provoked yet. If it had, he would have to wait an hour for respawn. One of the group members notices him and asks if they should stop the newcomer. Their leader, Wang Zishi, the legitimate son of the Wang family, one of the 3 great families of the eastern region, waves him off. To him, Subai is just a lone wolf. Lee Yura, daughter of another great family, sneers that this fool dares to covet what isn't his. But the sneers fade when Subai ignores everyone and heads straight for the boss. The Goblin King roars to life as Subai closes in, a notification flashing in his vision. Beginner area boss, Goblin King. The others wait for the slaughter, certain the monster will crush him. Wang Zishi smirks, saying there's no need to interfere, and Lee Yura agrees, dismissing him as trash. Then the fight begins. The Goblin King swings his massive club, but Subai slips past with ease. His dagger flashes, landing a critical hit that tears away over 100 HP in one strike. The king howls in pain, but Subai calls him nothing more than a barking dog and continues. Another critical hit slashes across the monster's chest, another 100 HP gone in seconds. The crowd stares in disbelief. The Goblin King's weak points, chest, lower back, and eyes, are being exploited flawlessly. They can't believe what they're witnessing. A level 2 rookie standing toe-to-toe with the area's strongest monster, parrying its blows and landing devastating counters. Even Lee Yura is stunned. None of them expected this lone stranger to last more than a few seconds, let alone overwhelm the boss. The lady turns to Brother GC and asks what is wrong. Brother GC replies that he cannot understand how Subai is using Flash Step, since all 3 of his attacks have been critical hits, something that should not even be possible. Flash Step is a high-level technique that even top players rarely manage to use, so this sight leaves everyone unsettled. They begin debating what to do next, wondering if they should take him down right away. But Brother GC tells them not to rush. No matter how strong Subai looks, there is no way he can finish the boss in a single strike. He reminds them of the mantis and cicada proverb, saying that they should wait until Subai is nearly at his limit, then strike when the opportunity is perfect. Meanwhile, Subai continues the fight with the Goblin King. He tells himself that defeating this opponent will be no harder than chopping vegetables. The monster swings at him again, but Subai answers with another precise slash that lands as a critical hit. He remarks mockingly that screaming will not help the Goblin King, and then strikes at its kidneys. The monster howls in pain, but this time the roar sounds different. Subai quickly realizes the boss might be summoning reinforcements. The other spectators soon notice it too. Just when they thought the battlefield was almost cleared, more goblins begin to appear. The lady points out that the boss has summoned goblin guards. Brother GC immediately orders everyone to switch into assault formation and break through the encirclement. His teammates rally behind him, encouraging each other to give it their all. The lady, frustrated, wonders aloud if these endless goblin guards are appearing because of Subai. Brother GC ignores her complaint and gives another command, telling everyone to clear a path for him. His teammates respond with determination, saying they will get him through and urging him to take the lead. Another member adds that they will carry him forward, all shouting encouragement for Brother Wang to push ahead. In his own thoughts, Brother GC believes there is still time. With Subai's damage output, there is no way he could possibly deplete the boss's remaining health instantly. By using a magic scroll, Brother GC is certain he can secure victory and claim the first kill in the eastern zone for himself. He vows not to let anyone else steal that glory. But Subai also sees through their scheme. He understands that they are planning to strike at the last possible moment to steal his achievement. He notices that they have even brought along a mid-grade magic scroll, proof that this is indeed a wealthy rival trying to overpower him. Still, Subai feels a surge of defiance and tells himself that he wants to see them try. At that moment, Brother GC declares that Subai will be destroyed along with the boss. He then activates the mid-grade flame burst scroll, unleashing a massive explosion across the battlefield. Everyone around begins cheering, believing that their leader has finally done it. They praise Brother GC as awesome and assume the victory is his. But the supposed winner himself grows uneasy. He starts to worry when the system remains silent. Then, with growing dread, he blurts out why the system hasn't announced the result yet. At that very moment, the notification appears. It declares that the East Zone beginner town boss has been defeated by player Subai and encourages everyone else to keep working hard. The news hits the entire crowd like a thunderbolt. Their excitement collapses into shock and disbelief. Many cannot understand how this outcome is even possible. Even Brother GC himself mutters that it makes no sense for Subai to one-shot the boss. Subai, standing over the fallen Goblin King, explains coldly. He tells them they are fools for not knowing that fatal wounds can stack damage. He reveals that he deliberately targeted the Goblin King's critical weakness and finished it off when it had only 5% health remaining. He adds that he could have ended the fight earlier, when the boss dropped to 20%, but he waited. Instead, he let the others drool over victory until Wang Jisi wasted his mid-grade scroll, and only then did he deliver the final blow. With a sigh, Subai remarks that it must hurt to think about losing such an expensive item, one worth thousands of gold, for nothing. For Subai, this is more than just a victory. He has been waiting for the chance to teach these wealthy player bullies a lesson. Those who rely on throwing money around to crush free-to-play players. Now they are the ones humiliated, left only to wait for the boss to respawn. With a smirk, he tells them farewell and walks away. The announcement quickly spreads to the tavern, where players are already buzzing with talk about someone defeating the East Zone's Goblin King. The news shocks them further when they realize the first kill did not go to one of the three great clans. Speculation rises immediately. Some wonder if the East Zone has a hidden noble Su family behind this mysterious player. Others insist that whoever claimed the kill must be a serious contender, perhaps even someone from a secret clan. A few consider that it could really be Subai, but another player quickly dismisses the thought. He argues that Subai is just an orphan and could never surpass the three great families, suggesting it must be another person with the same name. Yuchan, upon seeing the notification herself, is left speechless. She lashes out in frustration and orders her team to advance to the settlement at full speed. Her command is met with an immediate, unified response of agreement from her people. Meanwhile, Brother Wang's anger burns hotter than ever, now fully directed at Subai. 9:16 p.m. The lady turns to Brother GC and asks what they should do now. Brother replies that everyone should rest and regroup, and in an hour they will farm the next boss. But before his words can settle, a portal opens in front of them. Out steps Yuchan, her expression burning with anger. She demands to know if they intend to take the second boss as well, snapping that she never gave them permission. Just then, a notification appears before Subai. It announces that he is the first player in the East Zone to defeat the Goblin King, granting him access to the Tower of God's reward silver chest. Another line follows immediately, declaring that he is also among the first 100 players globally to unlock the same chest. Two gleaming silver chests materialize in front of him. Subai decides to open them before moving on, reasoning that rare gear might lie inside. The first chest grants him rare boots called One Step Away, along with 10 silver coins. The second chest provides a small XP potion and 30 more silver coins. He inspects the boots and notes that they grant a valuable speed boost, though the level requirement is still beyond his current reach. As he organizes the rewards, another thought strikes him. Since he secured the first boss kill, the Season 10 Global Tower leaderboard should now be open. He pulls it up and checks his standing. His name appears at rank 98. It's a surprisingly low placement, considering he left the beginner village less than 2 hours ago and already killed the Goblin King. He realizes that the top players in other regions must have defeated their bosses nearly an hour earlier. Clearly, wealthy and powerful competitors are not limited to the East Zone. They are scattered across the world. Determined not to fall behind, Subai immediately consumes the small XP potion, gaining a temporary 10% boost to experience gain. He steels himself, thinking that he has no time to waste. 9:16 p.m. With the buff active, he prepares to grind as quickly as possible. Turning back to the portal that has opened, he steps forward without hesitation. He is eager to see what awaits inside, the first dungeon of this season's Tower of Gods. Subai steps into the Tower of God's first floor and immediately recognizes it as the Dark Maze. The tower's beginner zone dungeons are infamous for their variety, each one entirely different in theme, layout, and enemies. Dark Maze, though only an entry-level floor, is notorious for being mid to high difficulty. For most new players, it is a death trap, but Subai remembers this place. Every path, every turn, every hidden dead end. He had memorized it all from his years in the game. The maze hasn't changed. The same patterns still apply, and that gives him a major advantage. Before he can take more than a few steps, however, a pale hand bursts through the ground. A gaunt figure drags itself up, skin stretched over bones, eyes glowing faintly. A notification identifies it as a ghoul. Subai recalls their traits: fast, aggressive, and lethal in groups. If they manage to encircle him, he's done for. He reacts instantly, activating Flash Step to close the distance in a blur and driving his blade into its skull. The critical strike drops the monster instantly, but another ghoul erupts from the floor right behind him. Without hesitation, Subai pivots, strikes again, and lands another decisive blow. This one also falls. The chain of kills, combined with the Goblin King's earlier XP, pushes his level up to 3. Encouraged, he presses deeper into the maze. Soon, he reaches a fork where 2 glowing inscription tablets await, one blue, one red. The blue tablet signifies an easy route, while the red marks the hard path. Subai doesn't hesitate. Harder paths mean greater rewards, and he chooses red. The tablet vanishes, and a massive door materializes in front of him, thrumming with ominous energy. Meanwhile, far away in the Yen Kingdom, the Yeo Dynasty Guild headquarters is abuzz with reports. In the guild's conference room, a woman delivers her update. Young Master Junkai's progress has been smooth so far. Sitting at the head of the table, guild leader Zhou Wang listens with a calm but stern expression. He reminds her that an early lead is meaningless, that the title of Rookie King only belongs to the one who seizes the final prize. The woman smiles politely, insisting that with Zhou Wang's careful arrangements, young Master Junkai is all but guaranteed victory this season. But her words ignite the leader's fury. He roars at her, calling her a fool, warning that the Rookie King is not a title that can be inherited or bought. Every past king carved their name with blood and survival against overwhelming odds. One of the guild's assistants bows his head, agreeing with the leader's criticism. Zhou Wang exhales slowly, temper cooling. He admits softly that he only hopes his son will not disappoint him. Back in the maze, Subai's situation grows harsher. Ghouls continue clawing up from the floor, their shrieks echoing through the darkness. They try to encircle him, lunging from every direction, but Subai stays sharp, cutting them down one by one before the trap can close in around him. So far, Subai's critical hits have been carrying him well. In less than half an hour, his kill count has stacked up, and the tower's generous experience rates keep pushing him forward. After finally clearing a room full of ghouls, something unusual catches his eye. A gray tablet half hidden against the wall. It marks a hidden chamber. Picking the hard route has paid off, and this is his bonus. He decides to go inside. The moment he enters, more ghouls surge out of the ground, far more than before. Their shrieks echo in the chamber as they swarm from every side. He counts quickly. There must be at least 50. With no hesitation, he dives into battle, slashing through them in a blur. Flash step becomes his rhythm, his blade carving critical strikes as bodies collapse one after another. Half an hour later, the final ghoul falls. Subai is breathing hard, but the notification flashing before his eyes makes it worthwhile. He is leveled up to 4, and gained 2 free attribute points. With the hidden room cleared, he is awarded an S-rank battle evaluation, a perfect clear. The tower grants him 1,000 experience points and a stack of gold. His balanced attribute growth makes him grin. It is exactly what he was aiming for. Now he feels ready. The time has come to challenge the floor's boss. Checking the global rankings, he sees Zhou Junkai sitting at number 1, Lin Mengxian at number 2. Yet neither name shows a boss clear. Subai takes it as a challenge. If no one else has claimed the first clear, then he will. He pushes open the door to the boss chamber. Inside are rows of towering statues, all frozen in place, surrounding a massive goat-headed figure seated upon a throne in the center. The floor 1 boss, the Minotaur, level 5, 55,000 health points, and infamous for punishing careless adventurers. Around him, ghouls begin to rise, moving to intercept. Subai wastes no time. He uses flash step to cut through the fodder instantly, his focus locked solely on the boss. The Minotaur rises slowly, silent and imposing, axe in hand. Just like in the game, it exudes an oppressive aura. Subai hurls his sword at it, testing its defenses, but the boss does not fall for the trick. A thunderous roar follows. A violent wind blasts across the chamber, shaking the floor and rattling the walls. Even the statues along the sides begin to move, stone dragons tearing free from their pedestals to join the fight. Instead of fear, Subai feels his blood pumping. The fight has finally become worthy. The Minotaur swings its axe in a devastating arc. Subai leaps high, using a gap step to avoid the crushing strike, and drives a critical blow against the beast's shoulder. The hit lands, but the boss's massive health bar barely shifts. Only a sliver disappears, a mere 150 points gone. And the real battle has only just begun. The Minotaur lashes out, its massive axe slashing towards Subai. He sidesteps with flash gap, unfazed, and turns the momentum against the boss and its stone minions. The beast stomps the ground, triggering a glowing magic circle. Flames burst outward as the Minotaur activates its signature skill, Bull Charge, and rushes forward with incredible speed. Subai is caught off guard by how quickly the skill has been used, but he regains his composure instantly. He vaults into the air with flash step, avoiding the charge, and drives his blade down in a vicious strike. The hit lands cleanly, this time tearing away a full 1,000 points of the Minotaur's health. The statues surrounding the chamber close in, sensing an opening while Subai is locked against the boss. But he cuts through them in a blur, turning their ambush into free experience. A new notification flashes, level up, level 5, plus 2 attribute points gained. Without hesitation, he equips a new pair of boots, boosting his speed to terrifying levels. Now he's everywhere at once, darting across the arena faster than the boss can react. The Minotaur roars and swings, but every attack misses as Subai circles it, striking from all directions. The monster grows frantic, unable to lock him down. When he suddenly appears behind it, the Minotaur tries to counter by entering its berserk state. But Subai anticipated it. With its stamina burning too quickly, the effect fizzles out before the boss can land a decisive blow. Subai seizes the moment. A deep stab tears through its hide, inflicting heavy bleeding, and its health bar plummets. The Minotaur is left staggering, an easy target. Subai presses in mercilessly, delivering a final critical strike that rips away 3,000 HP in one blow. The towering beast collapses onto the stone floor, its body dissolving into motes of light. The tower's system flares with a congratulatory message. Boss Minotaur slain. Tower of Gods. Floor 1 cleared. His reward, an entry ticket to Floor 2. The system congratulates Subai once more. A notification announces him as the first player of Season 10 to slay Floor 1's boss, granting him a golden treasure chest, a beginner's experience orb, and gold coins. For him, this pace is acceptable, neither too slow nor rushed. In the past, he would have cleared a floor in half an hour just to move on. But this season, he knows resources and experience are worth more than raw speed. Elsewhere, a massive explosion rocks the battlefield of the Zhou dynasty. Junkai, armed with his father's perfect-grade weapon, the 10,000 Calamities Annihilation Cannon, remarks on its destructive power. The weapon is brutally effective, though costly to use. Confident, he prepares to continue his bombardment until a sudden notification freezes him mid-action. The system declares that player Subai has broken the first clear record, officially clearing Floor 1 and securing the Yen Kingdom's first victory in the Tower of Gods. Junkai is stunned, his disbelief quickly boiling into rage. To him, the idea that someone managed to clear in under an hour, 58 minutes and 59 seconds is absurd. He insists it must be cheating. Word spreads quickly across the global leaderboards. Subai's name flashes to the top, not only for the tower but also for the beginner zone rankings. Players everywhere are shaken. Many question whether such a time is even humanly possible, while others marvel at the appearance of a newcomer this strong. Comparisons are immediately drawn to Li Jiangxian, the last terrifying prodigy the Yen Kingdom had produced long ago. Excitement spreads. This year's Rookie King title might belong to the Yen Kingdom once again. At the headquarters, the kingdom's leader studies the leaderboard, though his assistant tries to calm him, reminding him that young Master Zhou's time was still among the best in history. The leader remains furious. For him, there is no consolation in second place. A loss is a loss. Still, the assistant reminds him there are 9 more floors to go. If Junkai manages to complete his job transfer early, there is still a path to overturn the standings and seize the Rookie King crown. The leader orders an investigation into the identity of the record-breaking newcomer. The assistant immediately agrees, hurrying to carry out the command. Elsewhere, Yuchan sends a direct message to Subai. She first questions if he was the one who interfered with Wang Jiqi and Li Yuran's boss kill, then acknowledges that he has truly seized the world's first clear record. Finally, she offers an invitation. If he is interested, the Lin family would gladly welcome him as an ally. Standing near the portal, even she admits that they had underestimated him. Meanwhile, Subai stands before the golden treasure chest, the kind that only appears for first boss kills and major events. As the very first chest of the season, he knows it must contain something extraordinary. When the lid opens, golden light floods the chamber. Inside lies a perfect-grade item, the golden hoe. Subai stares in surprise, wondering if this could be the legendary version he once heard about, an item of immense value in the later stages of the game. Alongside it rests a beginner's experience orb. Using the orb immediately rewards him with 60,000 experience points, pushing his level up to 6. Without hesitation, he spends 3,280 silver to skip upgrade times, enhancing his equipment on the spot. The stat increases feels satisfying, and the temptation makes him upgrade again, laughing as his power continues to surge. With preparations complete, Subai steps toward the portal. He sets himself a small but ambitious goal: clear the first 10 floors within 24 hours. The scene shifts to the Naka Desert, where he materializes on floor 2. His trial progress is currently at 0. A timer begins to count down, 1 minute until the dungeon officially starts. The rules here are simple but grueling. Survive 10 waves of monster invasions. Too slow, Subai thinks. If he wants to maintain his momentum, he'll need to find a way to force the monsters to spawn faster. Just as the countdown continues, a sudden threat emerges. A sawtooth lizard appears right behind Subai, but it isn't alone. Dozens more follow, crawling out to surround him. Even faced with this sight, Subai only feels impatience. The pace is too slow, the waves waste his time. If he lets them drag on, his first clear record will slip away. So instead of waiting, he takes the initiative. His blade flashes, every strike landing a critical hit, and in moments the entire group is reduced to corpses. The system timer keeps ticking. Normally, surviving the wave should take 10 minutes, but Subai finishes in less than 2. Another surge of monsters pours out from the portal, but he dismisses them as still too slow. To accelerate the trial, he activates one step away. Since fate had given him such a glorious restart, he vows to push beyond every limit he once knew. Each monster falls to a single blow, and he declares that he will break all the records from his past life. Moving with relentless speed, he tears through Wave 2, Wave 3, Wave 4, and Wave 5 without pause. At last, he steps into the boss chamber of floor 2. Waiting there is the little werewolf, growling with challenge. Subai hardly considers it a threat. He simply wants it to die quickly and not waste his time. With one strike of steel flash, the creature collapses. The clear notification rings out, awarding him a floor 2 entry ticket to proceed to the next level. Laughing to himself, Subai turns toward the reward waiting at the center of the chamber. Another golden treasure chest. He opens it eagerly, and as expected of a perfect clear chest, brilliant light spills forth. Inside rests a piece of perfect grade equipment, linked purple gold armor. He upgrades it once, careful not to push the level too high, or else he won't even be able to wear it yet. The cost is steep, draining a good chunk of silver, but when the upgrade completes, the armor's glow eclipses everything else in his inventory. As expected of perfect-grade gear, it radiates unmatched quality, making every other item seem second-rate by comparison. Using the Novice Experience Orb, he gains 50,000 experience. A notification pops up congratulating him for reaching level 7, and awarding free attribute points. Not bad at all. Subai figures this should be enough to handle floor 3, so he moves forward. But just like that, over 100 gold coins vanish. He realizes he really needs to start earning faster. Stepping into the portal, he enters floor 3, the Silken Cavern. A huge horde of monsters rushes toward him. Rats, massive spiders, all kinds of creepy crawlies. Subai laughs, calling them little cuties as he slashes through them instantly. A few other players are battling a giant boss here, but Subai barely glances. He tests it with his 10,000 annihilation cannon, noting the boss isn't much of a challenge. Notifications confirm his success. He's congratulated for slaying the Minotaur and clearing floor 1. He receives a floor 2 entry ticket. His clear time is 2 hours, 25 minutes, 30 seconds. Subai exhales, telling himself it was intense but manageable since the boss's rage mode is limited. Another notification delivers a rare weapon, the exquisite long sword, and he laughs at the reward. He notices a world announcement stating that player Subai has set the first clear record for Tower of God Floor 2, a win for the Yen Kingdom. Subai notes the clear time, 29 minutes, 42 seconds. He thinks it's insane, then admits to himself that he's still too weak and wonders who else might be out there. He then tackles a giant spider, explaining to himself that it's time to show what true speed leveling looks like. Another notification pops up, congratulating him for setting the first clear record on floor 3 in 25 minutes, 45 seconds, another victory for the Yen Kingdom. On Tower of God's floor 4, the Crimson Flame Desert, Subai is already swarming through a horde of reptile-style monsters. Despite the chaos, he sets the first clear record, finishing in 22 minutes and 23 seconds. On floor 5, the Misty Swamp, he moves even faster, taking down the monsters and clearing the floor in 19 minutes, 58 seconds. News spreads like wildfire. Everywhere, people talk about Subai's insane speed. 3 floors cleared in barely over an hour. It's unreal. Whispers float around. Is he a genius? A monster? A god? Some claim he just gets stronger the higher he climbs, while others wonder if maybe the rookie floors this season are unusually easy. Someone brings up Zhou Junkai, the Dynasty Guild Master's son, noting that he heard Junkai brought the 10,000 Annihilation Cannon into floor 1. Another confirms it, explaining the cannon vanished from the weapon rankings, probably melted down into a newbie weapon. Yet everyone wonders if Subai somehow snagged an epic-grade weapon for himself. Later, in a strategy group meeting, a cluster of Yen Kingdom elites stands around. Pai Lingxiu comments on how intriguing Subai is, while Nancian adds that his background is a complete mystery. No parents, no backing, and at school, his combat class scores were unremarkable. Pai Lingxiu wonders aloud if Subai might have discovered something extraordinary in the tower. Nancian points out that even for the first-tier strategy group, epic-grade gear is incredibly rare. Only about 10 exist across the entire Yen Kingdom. She teases that Subai must have some nerve, being one of the top 5 assassins and already coveting a kid's weapon. Another member notes it's easy for her to say, considering she wields the silk-tasseled Fire Phoenix Spear, while most in the group don't even have a full set of perfect-grade gear. The discussion discussion escalates until the strategy group captain, Su Kong, steps in, frustrated, telling everyone to calm down. Captain Kong tells the group that if Subai comes out without pulling an S-rank or higher job transfer crystal, they should try to buy his epic weapon. But if he does pull one, they'll invite him for a strategy group trial. One of the members cautions the captain, saying the second-tier team is essentially a reserve squad, and that newcomers should start in the rookie squads first. Only if they perform well should they move up to the third-tier team. Kong interrupts, saying that the rookie squads these past 2 years haven't produced much. If Subai can become rookie king, there's no harm in cultivating him. The member opens his mouth to argue, but Kong simply walks off, declaring the matter settled. Nancian is reminded to worry about her own progress. If she can't make her second transfer this month, she might roll down to the second-tier team. Meanwhile, through another portal, Subai checks his character attributes. He notes that his luck isn't bad. Every level up gives him 8 random stats, but upgrading gear is draining him. Each upgrade now costs about 13 gold, and with only 300, he can't afford many. Clearing floor 10 will net him roughly 500 gold, and claiming the Rookie King title adds another 200. Still, he worries about where he'll get more money. He's basically broke. Then he remembers Lin Yuchan's messages. She'd asked if he was the one who sniped Wang Jaisai's boss, congratulated him on the first clear record, and offered cooperation. The Lin family is willing to welcome him as a guest retainer, even offering a 20 million annual contract, later raised to 30 million. They'd already transferred 100,000 in real currency to his account, calling it a red packet in case the deal didn't work out and apologizing for chasing him earlier. After reviewing the messages, Subai decides it's time to do some business. He messages Lin Yuchan, asking if she's interested. She immediately replies, asking about the price of job transfer crystals. Subai sets the rates. D rank, 1 gold, C rank, 5 gold. Anything above C, negotiable. Lin Yuchan notes that this is far below market price, but agrees anyway, saying she'll take them all. Subai tells her he has 13 for now, with more to come, and gives her 6 days to raise funds. They'll trade once he exits the tower. Lin Yuchan confirms. Subai chuckles to himself, noting just how much power the rich wield. With the deal set, he turns back to leveling, moving toward another portal to enter floor 6. The 6th floor is Wild Oasis. Among the Grand Canyons, a few wyverns circle the skies. Subai looks around and says that Wild Oasis is a leap in difficulty. He explains that the boss here is a roaming type with no fixed spawn point, meaning luck will play a big role. Luckily, he has a flying dragon crossbow upgraded to +10. It's rare grade and has impressive attack power. He equips it and remarks that it's a good thing he prepared long-range gear in advance. Still, he admits he didn't bring enough arrows, so he will need to use them sparingly if he wants to keep up his pace. With the great-grade crossbow in hand, he moves forward. Soon, a monster comes flying straight at him. For Subai, this is the perfect chance to test his new weapon. The creature is down before it realizes what's happening. One after another, the monsters try to strike from different angles, but his bolts hit with sharp accuracy, taking them out instantly. When a few sneak up behind him, Subai reacts immediately. He spins and lands precise shots in a full sweep, clearing them as well. Once the area is quiet again, he nods in approval. He says that the weapon's effect is solid, and the arrows can even be reused if he's careful. That should be enough to last him at least 2 or 3 more levels. Feeling satisfied, he adds that he will sell it to Lin Yuchan when the opportunity comes. He then recalls that the boss should be wandering north along the water source. He follows the stream and hears the sound of rushing water. Smiling, he says that it must be the river. But instead of the boss, he finds a group of amphibious monsters waiting for him, Murlocs. They are ordinary but dangerous, each at level 9 with 70 attack, 45 defense, and 400 HP. Their skills include bite and fish shoot. The moment they notice him, the fight begins. Before the Murlocs can launch a single attack, Subai's bolts cut them down in rapid succession. The ambush is so sudden that they have no chance to respond. When the last one falls, the loot drops onto the ground, 20 copper coins, and, most importantly, a B-rank job transfer crystal. A system notification prompts him to pick it up. He laughs to himself and says that the rumors about this floor's high drop rate seem to be true. Without wasting time, he lists the crystal for bidding, curious to see how will the response be. Lin sees the trade request and remarks that, as expected of Subai, he is very efficient. She offers 10 million in cash, along with 100 gold coins as the highest bid, plus another 1 million cash. Subai agrees, and Lin responds that they have a deal. With the transaction done, Subai keeps on hunting monsters. As he continues, he notes that this way of making money is not slow at all. Then he hears something different. This time, he is sure the sound belongs to the boss. He heads toward it and comes face to face with the Oasis fish monster, Ellie. At first sight, he observes that the creature looks quite unique. With a confident grin, he mutters that he will play with it. But the boss has no intention of playing. It roars furiously and charges. Subai reacts instantly. He leaps upward with his flash gap skill, fires his crossbow midair, and lands 3 critical hits, each inflicting over 1,000 damage. Enraged, the boss hurls its weapon, but Subai dodges effortlessly. He taunts the monster, saying it is still as stupid as ever and has made no progress. He then unleashes another barrage, this time slamming critical hits straight into its face, dealing over 3,000 damage in total. A system notification chimes, congratulating him on defeating the Oasis fish monster and clearing the 6th floor of the Tower of God. He receives an admission ticket to the 7th floor. Since he is also the first player to defeat the Oasis fish monster in Season 10, he is rewarded with 1 gold chest, 1 novice experience orb, and 50 gold coins. His clearance time is recorded at 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 59 seconds, setting a new first clear record for the 7th floor. He also earns the title Murloc Hunter. Though he admits the level took more time than expected, he feels the extra rewards are worth it. 5 silver treasure chests appear around him. One after another, the notifications inform him of the loot: 10 small blood replenishers, 5 gold coins, 50 silver coins, and a piece of excellent grade equipment, the Fish Demon Gauntlets. He also acquires 10 small experience potions and 30 copper points. Looking over the rewards, he mutters that the drops are not extraordinary but still better than nothing. Examining the Fish Demon Gauntlets, he decides to upgrade them. After enhancing them to +8, he equips the gauntlets and notes that their properties are impressive enough to use for now. With his new gear in place, Subai heads toward the portal leading to the 7th floor. He sets his sights on a clear goal: to conquer the first 10 levels within 20 hours. He tells himself that if he can finish within a day, the Rookie of the Year title will surely be his. But just as he prepares for the next step, a global announcement resounds across the tower. It congratulates player Lin Mengswan for obtaining the S-level profession, Berserker. The news surprises Subai. He winces and admits to himself that he hadn't expected the first S-level player to be Lin Mengswan, wondering how that guy managed to appear so quickly. Eddie raises an eyebrow and says Jed's an interesting guy. Buying information with information? Jed tells him that's right, since that's the only thing Eddie actually wants. Eddie asks how he could possibly know that, and Jed thinks to himself that of course he knows. Making contact with Eddie from the mid-game is crucial, like finding a hidden piece in a game. Jed tells him he remembers everything he sees once. Eddie smirks and says he's pretty smart, but Jed shouldn't jump to conclusions. Jed doesn't argue. He just stays silent with that calm, unreadable expression. After a moment, he points out that Eddie clearly likes reading, but there's only 1 book in the room, which means he probably throws away the ones he's finished. Eddie laughs and says that's a good observation, asking what else Jed has figured out. Jed tells him that Eddie's already interested in making a deal. He could tell from the way Eddie subtly turned his body toward him. That catches Eddie off guard for a second, but he quickly recovers and admits he'll listen to what Jed has to say, saying that much time investment seems fair. Jed then explains that what he wants is information about Arahan, everything about his brothers, to be specific. Eddie assumes it's because of the family infighting and tells him that information can be money, weapons, or even a shield, but the key thing is, what will Jed pay with? Jed answers that he'll pay with information Eddie doesn't know. Eddie grins slightly and says he won't know that until he hears it. After all, he already knows most things. Jed coolly replies that he won't be telling him right now either. That annoys Eddie, who says this isn't much of a deal. Jed's info might be worthless. Jed shrugs and tells him it goes both ways, because when it comes to Arahan, he probably knows more than Eddie does. Eddie scoffs and says it's ridiculous. Jed only came looking for him because he was scared. Jed admits that he did come here thinking there might be something he didn't know, but if Eddie can't agree to the trading method, then there's no point continuing. In his mind, Jed thinks that every trade starts with understanding what the other party wants. He knows Eddie well, but Eddie knows almost nothing about him, and being a guy obsessed with information, Eddie won't be able to resist. So Jed decides to push a little. He turns around and casually says that since Eddie isn't interested in dealing, he'll just take his leave. Eddie doesn't respond, staying silent as Jed walks away. After walking quite a distance, Jed thinks that it's fine even if they don't make a deal right now. Thanks to meeting the Kinjara triplets, he met Eddie much earlier than expected, and that gives him more time to work with. Jed figures Eddie will contact him first anyway, so there's no need to rush. But before he gets too far, a voice calls out to him. One of the assassin triplets thanks him, saying their youngest recovered immediately thanks to the holy water he gave them. He mentions it didn't seem like ordinary holy water and bows deeply in gratitude. The triplets admit they feel ashamed for not trusting him earlier just because he's a noble. Jed tells them that sometimes there are decent nobles too, and that he's not the kind to break promises. Hearing that, one of the assassins actually tears up and says he's never seen a noble like Jed before. Most wouldn't have cared about their youngest's life. He shyly asks for Jed's name, and Jed simply tells him it's Jed Arahan. The assassin bows again, promising to remember it for life. As Jed watches them, he realizes he had his own prejudice against assassins. He thinks about how strong their loyalty is, how deeply they care for their comrades, and that maybe they're better people than he thought. Then he asks if they're the Kinzura everyone talks about, and they confirm it with a nod. Jed thinks to himself that reaching the fourth circle is impressive for assassins, and there are 3 of them. He figures if he can bring them to his side, they'd be a big help in the infighting later. So he tells them to come with him, which leaves the triplets visibly surprised. Not long after, Jed finds himself sitting in front of Eddie again. Eddie looks at him with mild amusement and remarks that he actually came back. In his head, Eddie assumes Jed must have realized how important information about his brothers is. He then asks what brought Jed back since he had acted disinterested and stormed off earlier. Jed calmly tells him that he wants to buy the Kinzura triplets. Eddie begins to respond, thinking it's about the information again, but stops midway, confused. He asks if Jed really came back for those guys instead of the info on his brothers. Jed tells him that he doesn't need that information, that no matter how he thinks about it, he'd just end up at a loss. Eddie is taken aback. He mutters that Jed must be crazy, then admits it's a tricky situation. The triplets are squad leaders in his organization, after all, and as the boss, he's not exactly eager to part with them. Jed tells Eddie that he's prepared to pay any reasonable price. Eddie smirks and says that whatever Jed considers reasonable will probably turn out to be far more expensive than he imagines. When Jed asks what kind of price he has in mind, Eddie tells him he wants everything Jed experienced after leaving the detention center. How he got out, what he did afterward, the whole story. In Eddie's mind, money doesn't mean much. Information that satisfies his curiosity is the only real currency. And the mysterious return of the youngest Arahan, once abandoned in detention, is exactly the kind of juicy story that would keep him awake at night. But Jed only gives him a calm look and says that his capacity is smaller than he thought. That hits Eddie like a slap. He glares and repeats, almost offended, asking if Jed really just called him small-minded. Jed nods, saying he expected Eddie to demand something more impressive, but then adds that everyone lives within their own limitations. That last line finally breaks Eddie's patience. He grabs Jed by the collar and snaps, calling him arrogant. He rants about how Jed only got where he is because of his noble birth, that he's got no real ability, just a lucky bloodline. But through all of Eddie's yelling, Jed stays perfectly calm, quietly holding his gaze. His silence makes the air heavier, and even Eddie starts to feel uneasy under that cold, steady stare. The triplets quickly step in, trying to calm things down, reminding their boss that Jed is an Arahan heir. That finally makes Eddie pause. He lets go, clears his throat awkwardly, and apologizes, saying he got a little too heated. Then, trying to recover his composure, he asks what kind of conditions Jed would set instead. Jed simply asks who Eddie thinks is standing in front of him. Eddie answers that it's an Arahan heir, but Jed points out that just a moment ago Eddie had called him sir. He asks if that was wrong. Eddie admits it wasn't, a little unsure where this is going. Jed then tells him that if he were in Eddie's position, he'd be thinking about how to use nobles rather than hating them. He says this is the perfect time for Eddie to do that. Eddie raises an eyebrow, asking if Jed is really suggesting that he use him. Jed nods and explains that he knows how obsessed Eddie is with information, but that the information one can gather from the shadows will always be limited. Eddie sighs and says that's just how things are. He can't help it. Jed shakes his head, telling him that he still doesn't understand. Eddie, starting to lose patience again, says Jed hasn't actually explained anything clearly. That's when Jed calmly tells him not to stay hidden in the dark anymore, to step into the light, and that he'll help him do it. Eddie looks at him like he's crazy. He says it's impossible, that Jed has no idea what he's talking about. Jed tells Eddie that he's willing to offer something concrete, a building in a prime location where Eddie can run his own detective agency. He explains that since nobles are the ones who move the world, Eddie will need to deal with them directly if he wants to gather real information. Eddie immediately shoots back that it's not about money. He insists he didn't fail to rise up because he lacked funds. It's because commoners aren't allowed to buy or sell property. Jed simply shrugs and tells him that's not a problem. He'll be the building's owner himself, and Eddie will just run his business there as a tenant. That catches Eddie off guard. He hesitates, trying to process what he just heard, and Jed keeps going, saying he'll even assign members of Arahan's magic corps to provide security for the place. He points out that, with those kinds of conditions, it's practically a perfect setup. Eddie can only manage a faint, uncertain, while Jed continues, explaining that this isn't charity, it's a partnership. Jed tells him he'll help Eddie step into the light and achieve what he wants, and in return, Eddie will provide him with information. Both sides benefit equally. In his mind, Eddie starts calculating. With this, he could finally access noble-level information, not just the scraps he gathers from beggars and the streets. If Arahan's magic corps really provides security, it'd be like having a fortress of information, a diamond fence protecting his operation. But can he really trust this offer? Still, the temptation is too strong. Eddie asks if Jed is truly serious about providing both the building and the security team. Jed confidently tells him he never breaks promises and points at the triplet assassins behind them as living proof. Eddie looks at them, once enemies, now quietly standing behind Jed, and realizes this noble really might be different. He knows an opportunity when he sees one. This is his best shot to climb higher than any commoner ever has. Without hesitating further, Eddie reaches out and shakes Jed's hand, agreeing to the partnership. Jed smiles, saying that Eddie made the right choice, but then reminds him that every deal needs a down payment. Eddie blinks, asking what kind of down payment he's talking about. Jed tells him plainly that he wants information about his brothers and the Kinzura triplets as the initial price. Eddie freezes for a moment, clearly caught off guard, but Jed just waits patiently, calm as ever, until Eddie finally nods, realizing the deal has already begun. Jed rides the white horse, feeling a sense of relief as he finally reaches Arahan Mansion, his friends and followers right behind him at the gate. Lou notices him and asks if he couldn't sleep last night, checking if he's okay. Jed teases him back, and Lou laughs, saying he's just excited. Jed thinks about the night he spent memorizing all the information at the beginner's tavern. People are chatting restlessly. One person brings up how Subai still hasn't changed his job yet. Another agrees, pointing out that to achieve such results without switching classes means his strength is terrifying. A few wonder why he refuses to change jobs at all and ask if he might return to Novice Town. They admit they'd love to see it for themselves. While they are talking, the tavern door suddenly bangs open. The crowd panics and shouts at whoever dares to act so reckless. But when they realize it's Subai carrying an enormous bag, everyone freezes. No one dares to mess with him. Some whisper that he must be insane, certain the boss lady will beat him half to death for barging in like that. Others back the thought, saying anyone foolish enough to tease her usually ends up dead on the spot. To their shock, the tavern lady doesn't get angry at all. Instead, she praises Subai for being efficient and even seems genuinely happy to see him, showing no ill will. Subai then tells her to bring him a cup of falling star. The boss lady laughs softly and says he must be good at drinking, since that recipe is her exclusive specialty. The onlookers grow uneasy, whispering among themselves and wondering just who this guy really is. They cannot understand how the boss lady is tolerating someone who kicked her door open, yet she even praises the harvest he has brought in. She sniffs the bag and, true to her werbeast senses, immediately notices there is something extraordinary inside. Still, she warns him that no matter how sweetly he talks, there will be no discounts, 1 gold a cup and no credit. As Subai drinks, he notices a notification that a cup of falling star increases all attributes by 1 point. The boss lady shakes her head and sighs that he doesn't even appreciate the rarity of what he's consuming, comparing him to a cow chewing on a peony. 11:15 a.m. After finishing, Subai stretches tiredly and tells Sister Dana to arrange a private room upstairs for him since the day has worn him out. Just then, another figure enters, and everyone is shocked to see Lin Yuchen walk in. She herself feels relieved, thinking how fortunate it was that she hadn't escalated their earlier conflict. Otherwise, she fears the outcome would not have been good. Subai greets her casually, saying he had been expecting her. Lin Chuan, standing beside her, urges her to check the goods. When Lin Yuchen looks inside the bag, she is stunned. She had not imagined it would be packed with so much. In the private room upstairs at the tavern, Subai finally reveals the contents of his bag. The others gathered there are stunned into silence, whispering among themselves and wondering if this might actually be a treasure bag. Subai lays everything out and calmly says that everything they need is right here. The assistant, however, mutters that he's just too good at pretending. Now the real matter comes up, the price. Lin Yuchen cannot take her eyes off the shine of the treasures. Spread before her are an AF-level job change crystal, 50 E-level crystals, 20 C-grade pieces, 30 D-grade pieces, and 5 B-grade crystals. Every type one could possibly need is there, sitting in plain sight. Subai even mentions that there's a 5-level job transfer crystal if she's interested. Then he casually adds that he also has an S-level job transfer crystal, something he had almost forgotten about. The moment he says it, the room falls into stunned silence. Out of everything he's displayed so far, this single crystal is the most shocking of all. No one present can believe what they're seeing, an actual S-level job change crystal lying right in front of them. 11:16 a.m. Lin Yuchen is speechless as she stares at it. The notification display displays the item's information clearly. An S-level career transfer crystal, Mage Scholar. The assistant behind her blurts out in disbelief that this really is an S-level crystal. Lin Yuchen picks it up carefully, holds it for a moment, and feels its power before setting it back down on the table. Her expression makes it clear there's no way she can pass this up. She needs it, and she needs it now. She asks him how much it will take, how much she will have to pay. Subai doesn't waste time. He explains that everything except for the S-grade crystal will be sold at market price. For payment, he wants 10% in cash and the rest in gold coins. On top of that, he will prepare a list of supplies and expects her help in purchasing them. Lin Yuchen nods quickly, confident that such an arrangement won't be a problem. Supplies are the easiest thing for her to handle. Subai then hands over a sheet of paper, explaining that it's the list he wants purchased. A soldier standing nearby accepts it with a nod and says it looks fine. Lin Yuchen then instructs him to head out immediately and begin arranging the purchase. Once the deal is set, Subai leans back on the sofa and tells them that it's time to discuss the S-grade crystal, asking Lin Yuchen to give him a quote. She starts calculating quickly, unwilling to let such a chance slip away, and immediately offers 200 million in cash. The number leaves Subai stunned. He hadn't expected something so outrageous. 200 million? He thinks to himself that it can't really be worth that much. After all, he's already seen treasures of insane value, and this crystal didn't seem on that same level. But Lin Yuchen isn't finished. She explains that S-level job transfer crystals are always in short supply, so her offer is more than reasonable. Along with the cash, she promises 200,000 gold coins and even adds a house in Linfeng City, the first city of the Tower of God. The guards behind her can't hide their shock, muttering that such a property is unbelievably expensive and out of reach for ordinary people. Subai pauses, weighing it all in his mind. The more he thinks about it, the more he realizes the offer is indeed worth no less than what she claims. Lin Yuchen waits quietly for his response, watching him closely. Finally, he says he understands and won't haggle further, only asking if payment within 7 days would be acceptable. For Lin Yuchen, that isn't a problem. She agrees right away and urges him to sign the contract without wasting time. The contract is drawn up and signed, with Lin Yuchen watching every stroke of his pen, as though afraid something might go wrong. When the notification confirms the deal is complete, they shake hands. Subai tells her it's a pleasure to work together, while she replies that she looks forward to their cooperation. With the deal sealed, Subai offers her the chance to say anything else on her mind. Lin Yuchen admits that the entire world already knows he obtained an SSS-level job transfer crystal, and tells him that the Lin Group would gladly welcome him. But Subai only waves it off, saying they can talk about it later, since he has no intention of changing jobs right now. This response puzzles Lin Yuchen. She wonders why he wouldn't switch jobs immediately, asking herself if he isn't worried that someone might come and steal it. Subai simply laughs it off, saying he has his own plans, and then excuses himself to return to his room and rest. 11:17 a.m. Meanwhile, the tavern buzzes with gossip. The regulars whisper that this is the first time they've seen the Lin family's eldest daughter act so gentle with anyone, and they speculate about who the mysterious man might be. Some suggest it could really be Subai, but others dismiss the idea, pointing out that someone who cleared the 10th floor of the Tower of God wouldn't be wandering around in beginner's gear. Subai, overhearing the chatter as he walks away, can hear them gradually realizing the truth. Some recognize him outright and exclaim that it really was Subai just now. Still, many remain doubtful, arguing that a player of his level should be draped in luxurious equipment, not dressed more poorly than an ordinary adventurer. Others counter that strong players often hide their identities on purpose, so it makes sense. Even the boss lady joins in, scolding him in absentia. She complains that because of Subai, she's now facing all sorts of trouble that's affecting her business, and insists he must be held accountable. The boss lady heads towards the room where Subai is sleeping silently. She first looks at him and thinks to herself that he is hiding here to sleep. Then, she steps closer and kicks him lightly. Subai, still half asleep, asks in a drowsy voice why she is there and why she is being so loud. The boss lady puts her face close to his and tells him that she cannot do her business properly because of him. She also asks if his name is Nana and warns that he had better find a way to fix the mess downstairs, or else she will kill him. Subai, however, still wonders if Nana is really her name. Then, he pulls out a large pile of gold coins and shows them to her. The boss lady is shocked and surprised after seeing them. Subai asks if that is enough to pay for his room. The tavern lady replies that the amount is more than enough and says she is a professional at solving problems. Still, Subai mentions that he is tired and asks if he can sleep a little longer. He adds that killing people is an option, but the boss lady reassures him that she is not a murderer. Subai then tells her that he has a business deal to discuss. The tavern lady wonders if he has brought her another rare rare wine recipe. She asks how many recipes he has this time, but instead of a recipe, Subai takes out a crystal. The sight leaves the boss lady speechless. She says he is truly capable and asks if he really obtained an SSS-level job transfer crystal. Subai responds that he plans to begin the God's test. Hearing this, the boss lady finally understands, but she still wonders how he knows about the God's test. Subai explains in his own mind that he has taken the test over 100 times in his past life and, of course, he knows about it. But he does not reveal this to her. Instead, he simply tells her that she does not need to know the details, only to answer his question whether he is qualified. The boss lady explains that the crystal itself is the certificate for entering the test of gods. She says that inside, he cannot gain any gold coins or equipment. There is only one reward, the hidden profession crystal. But she also wants to confirm if Subai is completely certain about participating, because once he enters, the crystal will be consumed and he only gets one chance. Subai thinks about how he failed more than 100 times in his previous life, but this time he is determined not to fail. He tells the boss lady that he is absolutely certain about his decision and asks her to schedule the test. This leaves her speechless, and after a pause, she mutters that if he wants to die, she won't stop him. Subai calmly replies that she does not need to worry, since he has a long life ahead of him and he will not die here. At that moment, the crystal in his hand begins to crack apart. The boss lady takes the crystal and says that they are about to begin. A system notification appears, declaring that the God's test has begun, and asks if he wants to enter. It also warns that once he enters, there will be no turning back, so he should consider carefully. A huge magic circle suddenly forms beneath the tavern lady. She once again tells Subai that it is not too late to regret his choice. Subai asks her when she became so talkative, reminding her that she usually was not like this. Hearing this, she angrily kicks him straight into the magic circle, snapping that if he really thinks she is nagging, then he can go to hell instead. With a bang, Subai is pulled into the circle. As he descends, a mysterious voice echoes in his mind, telling him not to use that trick. The boss lady is left behind, frowning as she wonders what that strange message could mean. She mutters to herself that this brat always gives her an oddly familiar feeling. Inside the trial, lava spreads out everywhere. Subai lies on a solid block of ground surrounded by the molten rivers. As he slowly rises, he thinks about how familiar the place feels. He tells himself that he is back in the God's test once again. Looking at the system notification, he confirms that it is exactly the same as it had been in his past life. The message explains that he has officially entered the God's test, and that his equipment and backpack slots have been sealed. All amplifications have been temporarily removed, and will only be restored after passing the test. Subai begins walking forward through the fiery landscape. Along the path, he notices countless skulls scattered across the ground, evidence of those who failed to escape. As he passes them, he reflects that the corpses lying in the dark river are all the remains of men who once had the courage to challenge this trial. Although it seems contradictory, it is true. Those brave ones are exactly what he came here to surpass. And in this life, he tells himself it will not end the same way. Subai checked his stat window again and sighed that the bonuses from weapons and equipment were almost non-existent, and even his backpack was sealed. His name was displayed as Subai. His level remained fixed at 10, unchangeable. His occupation had not yet been altered. His strength, agility, physical, and spirit stats all showed at 100. His health stood at 1,000, calculated as Constitution times 10. His magic value was also 1,000 from Spirit times 10. His physical attack was listed at 200, calculated as Strength times 2, and his magic attack was the same, Spirit times 2. His gear consisted only of a novice longsword, rough, a novice shortsword, rough, and a beginner's tunic, rough. Even so, Subai reminded himself that at least the golden shovel he had obtained earlier was not sealed by the system. He pulled it out, gripping it firmly in his hands. A new notification flashed before him, warning that a large wave of crypt demons was approaching. All players were instructed to prepare for battle. A countdown appeared, starting at 59 seconds, quickly dropping toward 55. Subai readied his stance, weapon in hand. He thought to himself that his current attributes were already higher than when he had attempted the God's test in his previous life. If he were to fail again this time, it would be far too shameful. The countdown ticked down for 3. Subai muttered that the activity area was only a little over 1,000 square meters wide, which meant he would need to stay completely focused. One wrong step into the surrounding lava would mean instant death. At 2 seconds, a portal flared open. Dark shapes began emerging. Soon, dozens of crypt demons poured into the arena. Each was classified as Elite Level 10, with 250 magic attack, 180 defense, and 2000 health. Their skills included spider web and burrow. Subai narrowed his eyes. He recognized them immediately and whispered that he was ready for them. The demons multiplied quickly, filling the ground. Rather than waiting, Subai launched forward first, striking one with a fierce blow. His critical hit cut down 500 HP in an instant, but he frowned. Compared to the massive numbers he was used to inflicting, the damage felt pitiful. He swung again, and this time his strike pierced deeper, reducing the creature's full 2000 HP in one blow. The system immediately notified him of his first demon kill, awarding him 1 point. It encouraged him to continue. Subai muttered that the reward seemed stingy, but he wasted no time. He dashed forward again, slicing down demon after demon. His critical strikes began landing harder, each slashing off 2000 HP at once. Now, 3 crypt demons fell before him in single hits, collapsing under the weight of his golden shovel. Cutting steel was one of the most basic applications of sword energy. Beyond that, there were techniques like sword chi slash and sword chi assault, skills that could drastically boost a player's combat power. In a situation like this, with dozens of monsters rushing toward him, Subai knew he needed something truly powerful to break through. Even as he fought, he thought to himself that without mastering these techniques, he would never be able to pass the test. Experience alone wasn't enough, but the monsters weren't simple either. They moved with cunning, waiting for the right moment to overwhelm him. Subai, however, sensed the ambush. His instincts sharpened. He immediately dodged, avoiding the coordinated strikes, and countered with a fierce blow. His sword landed cleanly, tearing through one of the demons with a critical strike. The creature's health dropped by 2000 in an instant. It was a one-hit kill, and he managed to land it 3 times in a row. The system chimed, demons killed, 3 current points, 10. Another notification followed. Tip, accumulate 100 points to gain 1 chance to restore your status. That small detail lifted his spirits. With a grin spreading across his face, Subai launched himself back into battle, blades flashing as he cut down wave after wave of demons. Notifications flooded his screen with every strike. Meanwhile, on the message boards, the entire forum buzzed with speculation. At floor 25, one user asked why Subai still hadn't used his SSS-level job transfer crystal. Another, on floor 26, complained that he was too reckless, saying he should have activated it long ago. On floor 27, someone else wondered aloud if he wasn't afraid of losing it altogether. Further down, the gossip shifted. By floor 156, rumors spread that Lin Yuchan was auctioning off novice gear in town, items of unusually high quality, including a variety of job transfer crystals. Floor 157 erupted with shock. Players questioned if those items had come from Subai himself. And at floor 158, another poster confirmed it with certainty, saying there was no doubt. Lin Yuchan was only level 4. Who else could possibly have supplied such treasures, if not Subai? At level 159, some players speculated that Subai would never sell his SSS-level crystals. Yet the rumors and debates continued endlessly, even spilling into the Novice Town Tavern. Inside, the tavern lady snapped at the crowd, warning them in a sharp voice that if they dared step onto the second floor again, she would treat them as thieves and kill them on the spot. She made it clear that Subai was not upstairs, and that his SSS-level job transfer crystal had already been shattered into useless fragments. She hoped that this would put an end to the constant harassment aimed at Subai, but the restless crowd refused to believe her. Some muttered that there was no way such a crystal could have been destroyed, demanding proof. Another scoffed, calling it impossible. The lady only sneered in response. She reminded them that proof wasn't necessary to kill someone. She insisted that she had crushed the crystal with her own hands, and if they doubted her, they were welcome to test her grip strength themselves. Her words carried a chilling edge as she asked if it was strong enough to crush their hands, or even their heads. But she warned that anyone who volunteered for such an experiment might not live through it. Meanwhile, in the strategy group's meeting room, the atmosphere grew tense. The leader and his team were reviewing information when a scout rushed in, pale-faced, and reported that Dana, the tavern keeper, had claimed to personally destroy Subai's SSS-level crystal. The leader was stunned, demanding confirmation, while the rest of the group fell silent. They reasoned that Dana was an NPC and would never lie, which meant the news had to be true. With that realization, despair washed over them. They had just lost the last thread of hope they had been holding on to. Far away, the wider player base erupted in mixed reactions across the message boards. On floor 1008, someone mocked Subai, laughing that Yarn Country had produced a fool who flaunted his crystal everywhere but never used it, only to have it destroyed. On floor 1059, another declared between fits of laughter that it was like a cooked duck flying away right when it was ready to be eaten, using Yarn Country's own saying to drive the insult home. By level 1324, the tone shifted to something darker. Players insisted that this was destiny, that Yarn Nation was unworthy of possessing amassing an SSS-level crystal. They claimed that only Fabing Nation deserved such glory, and that the honor of having a second SSS-level superplayer would belong to them alone. At level 1447, players from Sakura Country grew confident, boldly declaring that their next SSS-level superplayer would surely come from their nation. They placed their hopes on Yumori Guang, the son of Lord Yumorita, insisting that he was destined to surpass even his father's mastery. Meanwhile, at the strategy group meeting, the atmosphere was tense. The leader slammed the table and shouted in frustration, furious that such an important crystal had been lost. One of the men present smirked, remarking that he had always said Subai was unworthy of being in the first team, and that this incident only proved him right. Pei Ling Xiu, standing nearby, glared at him and snapped, asking why he always had to stir up trouble. But the man only laughed mockingly, teasing her and suggesting that she might be attracted to Subai. She angrily told him to shut his mouth. The boss cut in, irritated, demanding to know why they were wasting time bickering when all the SSS-level newcomers were already gone. Pei Ling Xiu quickly clarified that shouting at them was pointless. After all, she was not the one who had crushed the crystal. The boss waved off the quarrel and issued his next command. They were to defend the Tower of God, and the moment Subai left the novice area, they were to capture him immediately. Another subordinate questioned why they even needed to bother with Subai now, arguing that it was unrealistic to expect him to produce another SSS-level crystal. But the boss countered sharply, calling them all useless. He reminded them that Subai's record-breaking performance in clearing stages proved he possessed rare skills. With such potential, it wasn't impossible that another SSS-level crystal could appear in the future. Pei Ling Xiu chuckled and admitted that the boss's reasoning was far sharper than their own. One of the men then asked which method they should employ: torture, coercion, or inducement. The boss scolded him harshly, asking if he was a bandit or some prison thug. Torture, he said, was both foolish and impossible against someone like Subai. Instead, he ordered inducement. No matter how much money it took, they were to lure Subai and make him reveal his true skills. This, he declared, was critical for the future of Yen country, and none of them were allowed to fail. Back within the God's test at the first level, Subai faced another wave of spiders rushing at him. He slashed them down effortlessly, landing critical hits and killing each with a single strike. Laughing in excitement, he challenged them as if they were little devils before his sword. Soon after, a system notification rang out, congratulating him for passing the first level and urging him to continue forward. Subai finally let out a deep sigh of relief. 10 long hours had passed, and the first stage was at last over. His body felt drained, but there was no time to celebrate. He reminded himself that this was only the beginning, just the first level. Ahead of him stretched 9 more trials, and to clear them all he would need to slay 1,000,000 monsters and push his way to SSS rank. As he stepped into the next area, the environment shifted drastically. The blazing fire and molten ground of the first stage disappeared, replaced by a vast open space filled with jagged rocks, some even floating unnaturally in the air. Subai glanced at the counter and calculated. There were 11,034 enemies waiting here. It was only a fraction of the total, yet the road ahead already seemed endless. A system notification appeared, informing him that he had entered the second level. His status had been refreshed, but a large wave of stinging demons was approaching. The countdown began at 59, ticking lower by the second. Subai steadied his breathing and began circulating his magic to recover his strength. The novice period was nearing its end, and he had no time to waste. The buzzing reached his ears before the swarm appeared. Bees, thousands of them, shot toward him, their wings cutting the air like blades. He immediately realized the danger. Their venomous stingers could drain his life with every hit. The sound of their wings filled the entire space, a suffocating cloud of noise. Instead of panicking, Subai muttered to himself that it was troublesome, but in a way, just right. He swapped his weapon for the iron whip of thorns. It was nothing special, only novice grade, yet its wide sweep made it more practical here than a single blade. The fact that equipment could be switched freely inside the test gave him an advantage. The swarm closed in. Subai lashed out once, stepping back at the same time. The whip tore through the air, releasing a wave of force. 20 demons dropped instantly with a single critical strike. A small smile crossed his face, exactly as he had predicted. The whip was perfect for this kind of fight. The bee demons might have speed and deadly poison, but their defense was pitiful and their health low. Without pausing, he followed up with sword extinction, cutting down another 20 in a single sweep. Another strike fell 30 more, and then another 40 gone in one hit. The notifications flickered non-stop as his kill count surged upward, and Subai pressed forward with growing momentum, carving his way into the swarm. 12 hours later, Subai was still fighting. His movements had become almost mechanical, critical strikes flowing one after another. The swarm of stinging demons had seemed endless, but with every lash and every strike, the numbers thinned. His latest kill was 19 in a single blow, bringing his total points to an astonishing 2,552,100. Finally, the last of the bees hit the ground, their lifeless bodies covering the battlefield. Subai stood tall amidst the silence, chest rising and falling with exhaustion. He muttered to himself that he was finally done. He had killed them all. Switching back to another weapon, he began moving forward again. The second level, he reflected, had not been so bad after all, though nearly 250,000 bee demons had been waiting for him there. A system notification urged him to recover before proceeding, reminding him that more trials awaited. He obeyed, steadying his breath and regaining strength. Soon after, another notification appeared. You have reached the third level. All statuses refreshed. A large wave of witchcraft imps is approaching. Players prepare to fight back. The countdown began once more. 59, 58, 57. Without hesitation, Subai switched weapons again. The witchcraft imps specialized in long-range chanting, so he selected a short bow, the most effective counter. With it, he could fire arrows rapidly before the imps could complete their spells. As the goblin-like creatures appeared, they locked eyes on Subai, raising their hands to chant in unison. Dark magical energy gathered at their fingertips, ready to strike him down. But Subai was already drawing his bowstring. He loosed arrow after arrow in a seamless rhythm, and the battlefield lit with the cries of wounded imps. Their casting faltered. Spells fizzled midway, the concentration broken by his relentless attacks. He knew their weakness well. Long chanting times made them vulnerable to anyone with faster reflexes, and speed was his greatest strength. With sharp confidence, he told himself that when it came to speed, he had never feared anyone. Critical arrows pierced through their defenses. 5 fell instantly, one after another. He adjusted his aim and fired again, targeting those who had managed to finish chanting. Bolts of dark magic streaked toward him in return. His agility saved him, dodging at the last possible moment, but he realized grimly that even one hit could prove fatal. He had to be faster still. Meanwhile, far away in the Tower of God, the 10th floor shook with excitement. An announcement echoed through the sky. Congratulations to player Lin Mengxuan for clearing the nightmare platform on the 10th floor of the Tower of God. Time, 40 hours, 23 minutes, 15 seconds. The woman herself stood with a calm yet determined expression. Though she had secured her place, her eyes narrowed as she thought aloud. Second place was not enough. Somewhere out there was the one who had taken first, Subai. If fate allowed, she intended to meet him. Then we take a look at a notification window about Novice Test Day 6 in the city. According to the latest stats, more than 4.5 million players have qualified this year. By the end of the novice period, the number of players who finish the game is expected to be about the same as in previous years. This year's list of new professional classes has also been released. There are 110 S-rank newcomers and 21 SS-rank players. Among Yen Nation's newcomers, 8 have advanced to S-rank or higher, 6 S-rank and only 2 SS-rank. This news spreads quickly across the city, and everyone starts talking about it. Outside, groups of people gather and chat about the rankings. One man sighs and says that this year is the same as the previous 2 years. Yen country is strong in the first half but weak in the second half. Still, he admits it is better than last year when there was only one S-rank player. Another man comments that this year they at least have Zhao Zhangkai, a gunner, and Wei Lan, a two-handed swordsman, both of whom belong to high-damage professions. A third person brings up that Lin Mengxuan's Berserker is also focused on violent damage output, and that Lin Yuchan herself is an S-rank mage scholar. Then someone wonders aloud where Subai is. Later, in a pub, a man asks Lin Yuchan why she turned down the invitations from Lin Mengxian and Zhao Zhangkai. He presses further, telling her that there is no need to give up such a good opportunity just for Subai, and that if she had accepted, the Dongqing Lin family might have risen to a higher level. But Lin Yuchan, calmly sipping her drink, asks instead whether he had finished the last-minute tasks she gave him. She reminds him that today is the final day. The man replies that he is ready, but still tries to continue speaking. Before he can, however, Lady Yuchan cuts him off. She tells him that she has her own plans, and that even if she explained, he would not understand. Finally, another system notification window appears. She swipes through a few menus, bringing up her friend list, which shows Subai Abnormal State, Su Chi Online, and Chung Fei Online. After looking at the notification, she smiles and remarks that it has already been 6 days. Ever since the abnormal state was flagged, news about the crystal's destruction has spread everywhere. Because of that, she reasons Subai must still be in the novice zone. She admits she doesn't know what kind of surprises he will bring to the world once he comes out, but she is certain he will bring something unexpected. Her curiosity runs deep, because so far, everything she has seen Subai do has been astonishing, always unpredictable, always beyond expectations. People may try to guess what he might do next, but he never follows those guesses. At least she and her group are among the lucky ones who can clearly see his progress, unlike the others who can only speculate without any real idea of what he is accomplishing. The scene then shifts to the 7th level of the God's Test. It is a mountainous area shrouded in drifting clouds, though it is hard to tell whether it lies high in the sky or deep beneath some ocean-like abyss. There, a horde of stone-bodied monsters with massive eyeballs are locked in battle. They are being bombarded by countless blue magical arrows, each arrow exploding on impact and scattering shards of stone. The attacker is revealed to be Subai himself. He unleashes a barrage of ice arrows, each one striking with devastating precision. Every shot lands as a critical hit, dropping the monsters instantly. It becomes a chain of one-hit combos, and just like before, Subai's relentless assault works wonders, clearing out wave after wave of enemies and securing his path forward. Subai scoffs at the monster's defense, remarking that high defense means nothing when faced with freezing attacks. The harder the target, the more brittle it becomes once frozen. Against other opponents, the stone creatures might have been unstoppable, but against him, they are nothing. He then prepares to climb higher, thinking about how it is already the 6th day. With 3 levels still left, he knows he must speed up the process. A notification suddenly pops up, level 8 reached. All statuses refreshed. Incoming threat, poisonous armored holy insects. Prepare for battle. Countdown begins. 59, 58, 57. As the timer ticks down, Subai sees the swarm of poisonous insects moving to surround him. But he laughs at their attempt, declaring that if they think they can trap him, they are only dreaming. With one massive strike, he delivers critical hits that instantly kill 29 of them. 6 hours later, another monster roars in fury at him. Subai, wielding a fiery sword, mocks it for being far too slow. With a sweeping strike, he lands another series of critical hits. 14 enemies fall in one blow, followed by another 10 in the next. A system notification then rings out. Ding! God's test score has reached 1 million points. There are 24 hours left until the end of the novice test. New players, please pay attention to the time. Excited, Subai leaps into the air, thrilled at reaching the milestone. He knows there is still the final level boss waiting, and defeating it will grant him the coveted brave achievement. After finishing off another monster, he pushes forward until he arrives at a glowing orb, pulsing with red light and crackling with electrical energy. Determined, Subai braces himself and touches the orb, ready to summon the final boss. A massive mark spreads across the ground the moment he makes contact, and with a thunderous boom, the red lotus demon appears. Its details flash before his eyes. Type Demon King Demon. Level 10. Magic attack 5000. Defense 2000. HP 1 million. Skill Hellfire. The battle for the final stage has begun. Subai, standing on the ground, gets even more excited and says that this is exactly the opponent he wanted. The monster raises its weapon and screams that it will destroy all humans. With a flashy, devastating move, it tries to strike Subai down. Subai immediately dodges out of the way and admits to himself that the demon is still extremely difficult to handle. He thinks that this really is a true demon-level boss. With a defense value of 2000, he tells himself that landing any real damage on it is impossible for now. The monster holds its enormous sword, glowing like the sun, and scans the battlefield to locate Subai. Subai reminds himself that he will have to keep fighting in a smart way and decides that he must wait for the right opportunity to deal the finishing blow. After preparing his strategy, he jumps into the air. The monster notices the movement immediately. At that moment, Subai is engulfed in blue energy. He says that this battle feels like a cat-and-mouse game he has played dozens of times in his previous life, but now it is far more exciting. He adds that this time he has a hook to rely on. While flying on a block of rock, Subai locks his eyes on the demon, ready to push his strategy into action. Subai suddenly gets startled as a group of skeletons appear right beside him. Each one is being controlled through thin threads of energy sent out by him. He tells himself that he wants the monster to taste its own magma. He lands back on the ground, while the monster screams that it will cut him into pieces and avenge the brave warriors that Subai had defeated before. Subai replies sharply. A dagger, forming out of glowing blue energy in his hand, gleams as he rushes forward. He shouts for the monster to die and slashes hard, landing a strike that takes off off one of its limbs. The monster is shocked at the sudden attack, but Subai announces that this is the end for it. He charges again, this time drawing his bow, and begins firing arrows at point-blank range. The monster is caught completely off guard, unable to react, forced to stand helplessly as arrow after arrow pierces into its body. While the monster reels from the hits, another surge of blue energy races from rock to rock, and the demon is struck once again by an arrow. Subai laughs loudly, saying that as long as he can break through its defense, he can kill even gods. With that confidence, he readies yet another arrow on his shining bow. Before he can fire the finishing blow, the monster lets out a furious scream. It curses humans, shouting that it cannot believe such fragile beings would be the ones to defeat it. Even worse, it realizes, is the humiliation of being brought down not by an army, but by a single human, Subai alone. For the Red Lotus demon, this is the greatest shame it could ever face. Even as the monster was getting torn apart, it kept trying again and again to fire blasts back at Subai. Explosions shook the whole area, the shockwaves echoing everywhere, but the creature didn't stop. It kept spamming attacks, desperate not to let Subai slip away. But in the middle of its frenzy, the monster suddenly realized something terrifying. Subai was no longer in front of it. He was right beside it. Too close. Subai called it an idiot, saying that this was the end. The monster tried to fire one last blast at point-blank range, but it was already too late. Subai's sword came down, slashing through in a clean arc. The monster's wings were sliced apart, feathers scattering like ashes in the air, and its body plummeted toward the ground. A notification chimed instantly. Ding! Congratulations, you have passed the God's test. Points: 1,082,022. You have reached the requirements to redeem the only hidden class. Do you want to redeem it? Subai barely glanced at it, too tired to care. He let out a long breath, muttering that it was finally over. But then another notification popped up. Once you redeem your 1,000,000 points, you will receive the super professional title Brave. That woke him up. He jumped to his feet, laughing. This was it, the legendary hidden title. An exceptional profession far above even SSS rank. In his past life, this very title had carried him all the way to the 999th floor. This was exactly what he had been aiming for. Still, he forced himself not to rush. Instead, he thought about the golden hoe and the legend tied to it. Supposedly, it could copy items. If that was true, then maybe he could double his rewards here. With a quick prayer for luck, he tossed the golden hoe into the air, hoping the story wasn't just a fairy tale. But then, silence. The hoe didn't return. Subai froze. His face darkened as panic started creeping in. It was gone, just like that. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The system still showed his points intact, but the missing hoe left him rattled. Just as he was wondering what had happened, the ground rumbled violently. Lava flared up around him, sparks of volcanic fire bursting into the air. Then it happened. From one side, something golden burst forth, radiating blinding light. From the other, something dark and purplish surged, exuding a chilling, destructive aura. Subai stared at both, wide-eyed, feeling the clash of energies. His body tensed as one of them suddenly exploded. As all the golden and dark energies clashed and converged on Subai, a new notification flashed before his eyes. Congratulations! You have obtained a twin career, the Brave Man and the Demon King. Immediately, Subai felt his body shift. His form began to change. Half of him radiated light, the other half draped in shadow, resembling a man split between two worlds. The transformation wasn't painless. Power surged through him like fire and ice colliding in his veins. But despite the strain, strength poured into him like never before. A massive portal opened in front of him, its energy swirling like the boundary between two realities. Panels appeared one after another, showing his updated stats. Name: Kenbai. Level 10. Occupation: Sick King Hero X. Strength 500. Agility 500. Constitution 500. Spirit 800. Health 5000. Magic power activated. Physical attack 2000 plus brave bonus 100. Magic attack 3200 plus demon bonus 100. Special traits: Kinto Group Hero Vibration. Can learn any non-physical skill with instant full proficiency. Yuan Firepower Part 3. Unlimited mana. All non-physical skills have no cooldown. Equipment equipped. Cloak of All Things Supreme Artifact. Fire Dragon Fist plus 1 perfect level. Chain Purple Gold Armor plus 1 perfect level. Subai stared at the panels and felt a surge of satisfaction. His 4 attributes had increased more than 5-fold. His attacks had doubled thanks to his new passive ability. His mana pool was now limitless. With this kind of power, he could crush anything in his path, walk sideways across the world without fear. Looking at the corpses of countless challengers who had failed before him, he bowed his head slightly and promised them that he would carry their will forward. This time, he swore he would not stop until he killed 2 gods at once. Elsewhere, Lin Yuchan nervously stared at her friend list. Subai's name room suddenly lit up, showing him as part of Xia Qingfei's team. She froze for a moment before blurting out in shock that Su Bai had finally reappeared. Her words sent ripples of panic through those around her, who wondered what was happening. The tremors from above felt like an earthquake shaking the town. Back at the tavern, the boss lady opened the door cautiously. To her astonishment, she found Su Bai lying there comfortably, as if he had just woken from a nap. She was stunned and muttered in disbelief that he had actually succeeded. Su Bai smirked and reminded her to never doubt him. The lady, still both excited and overwhelmed, could only exclaim that he had really achieved that impossible job. The tavern lady grows serious and tells Su Bai that heroes and demon kings are not supposed to coexist. Su Bai only laughs and replies that he is the strongest among the strong, and she was sharp enough to see it at a glance. He then rises, brushing off his clothes, and says that he has been gone long enough, so it is time to step out and take a look at the world again. He even asks Dana, the tavern lady, if she wants to come with him. Dana refuses and says the outside world has nothing to do with her. Su Bai understands and tells her that if she misses her wine, he will return. Just before he leaves, Dana stops him and hands him a reward for clearing the god's test. Su Bai smiles, commenting that she is being generous, as the reward is none other than the hidden badge, a perfect grade artifact that can conceal his property panel, status, and even his image. Dana warns him that the tower is filled with many opposing forces against the Demon King. If he shows himself carelessly, he may not live long. Su Bai laughs again, saying that this proves she cares about him and thanks her. Dana, embarrassed, snaps at him and shouts for him to get out. The scene then shifts to Lim City, the first great city after Novice Town. Here, players can accept quests, learn professional skills, and prepare for the higher floors of the Tower of God. Portals outside the city lead directly to the 11th through 30th floors. As Su Bai walks through the streets, he feels a wave of familiarity and quietly says to himself that he is back. Soon, he notices Yuchan standing with her group. He smirks and tells her that she found him quickly. Yuchan, clearly relieved, runs up and says she has finally waited long enough. She asks him where he has been since he disappeared for so many days. Chapter 17. Inside the Lim Chamber of Commerce, Yuchan politely asked Su Bai to take a seat. He agreed, noting inwardly that the Lin family truly lived up to its reputation if they could open such a luxurious private club in the heart of Lim City. Once everyone was seated, Su Bai acknowledged how quickly they had gathered the resources, remarking that their efficiency was impressive. Yuchan confirmed this by presenting the inventory, explaining that after deducting the 3,000 gold coins spent on supplies, the remaining 17,000 gold coins were all intact. She sipped on a fine drink, while the guards around her exchanged quiet glances. A small cough escaped her before she carefully shifted the topic. She then asked about Su Bai's current career rating. Su Bai frowned, wondering why she wanted to know. Yuchan waved her hand slightly, insisting it wasn't meant to offend him, only that rumors were spreading. Rumors claiming he had lost his job change crystal, with many online even mocking him for it. Su Bai was surprised and wondered aloud how anyone could have known about that. Yuchan explained that word had spread because Dana, the novice tavern owner, had claimed to have crushed his crystal with her own hands. Su Bai admitted that this wasn't wrong. Yuchan was quietly unsettled. The rumors seemed true, yet Su Bai showed no hint of worry, not even regret. She reassured him politely, calling him a man of exceptional ability, someone who stood above their entire generation. To her, his calmness could only mean one thing. Perhaps he had already acquired a new SSS-grade crystal. That thought brought her some relief, but Su Bai only dismissed it, brushing off the matter as nothing more than an SSS-grade crystal, something hardly worth concern. Then he looked back at her and asked directly what she wanted from him. Yuchan gathered herself and explained her request. She wanted him to join the Lin family's guild and work together to fight the boss. At that moment, Su Bai's expression hardened. He understood well that the Tower of God's difficulty had escalated dramatically after leaving the novice area, so her suggestion wasn't unreasonable. Still, he made his stance clear. He would help them attack the boss, but he would not join any guild. His responsibility, he decided, would only be to lead them in clearing the 5th floor. The team composition required 5 magic professions, all high damage types. Too many support or defensive roles would kill any chance of a record run. Yuchan's eyes went wide at that, and she practically leapt to her feet, asking if he really meant to set a record. Su Bai only shrugged inwardly. He knew the math. Normally, it took 20 people to clear a level cleanly. Going for a record meant a very different build. When Yuchan wondered aloud whether it was even possible, Su Bai told her not to bother if she didn't believe him. He added that the reward for a record wasn't nearly as good as a first kill reward, so he didn't have to do it for the money. He started to walk off, but Yuchan trailed after him, quickly covering for her earlier surprise and asking when they should start. She also asked if the team name could carry the Lin clan prefix. Su Bai agreed to begin tomorrow, he had matters to handle today. Yuchan beamed and immediately set things in motion. Her assistant pulled her aside and whispered that Su-bai supposedly had no SSS-level crystals anymore. Could he really lead them to break a record? The assistant muttered that the whole thing smelled like a lie. Yuchan glanced back at him, sharp and cold. She reminded him that when Su-bai was a newbie, he'd sliced through 3 or 4 of them like nothing. If they had treated him as an enemy back then, they might all still be stuck in Novice Town. With that, she ordered him to arrange 4 B-rank magicians and hold 1 slot open for her as backup. No more stupid questions. The assistant stammered his compliance but kept his private resentment to himself, thinking Su-bai was courting a quick death. Later, at the city lord's mansion, a guard, Wu Kai, stepped forward and barked that Su-bai couldn't barge in without permission. The guards would shoot first and ask questions later. Su-bai tilted his head and asked what the fuss was about, then offered to share a secret to get in. The man blinked, suspicious but curious. Su-bai simply told him that the only real requirement was strength. If you were strong enough, entry would be no problem at all. As Su-bai approached the entrance, the guard suddenly straightened, his tone changing completely. He addressed Su-bai respectfully, calling him Sir Brave and inviting him inside, explaining that the city lord was currently at the training ground. The onlookers outside froze. None of them could believe what they had just witnessed. A complete newbie had simply walked into the city lord's mansion as if it were his own courtyard. To them, it was outrageous. Inside, Su-bai was quickly surrounded by guards and escorted through the halls. Before long, a deafening explosion shook the ground ahead. Su-bai narrowed his eyes and spotted 2 figures in the distance. One of them, breathing heavily, was Guard Captain Orlando Mullen, level 180, an Earth magician. The other was none other than the Lord of Rim City, Black Ryan, level 200, a human swordsman. Su-bai felt his pulse quicken. This was it, the famous hidden plot of the city lord's mansion. He had stumbled into it by sheer luck. And luck like this meant one thing, a chance to comprehend rare, high-level skills. A soldier glanced back at Su-bai and respectfully asked him to wait, explaining that the city lord was training with the captain. Su-bai nodded. He didn't mind at all. In fact, his thoughts were racing. Despite having gained dual professions, he lacked both active and passive skills and had no clear development path. Until now, the only option had been grinding for random skill books. But this was something else entirely. Here, he could observe and learn directly from masters. Sure enough, a notification appeared before his eyes. C-level basic swordsmanship detected. Do you want to study it? Su-bai's lips curved upward. This was no ordinary swordsmanship. It was the personal skill of a level 200 great swordsman. Another alert flashed. D-level Earth-type primary stone wall detected. Do you want to learn it? He grinned, recognizing it immediately as one of Orlando Mullen's spells. He thought it would be a waste not to take advantage of this, so he confirmed without hesitation. The notifications cascaded in rapid succession. Congratulations on successfully learning the skill. Stone wall. C-level continuous step detected. Do you want to learn it? D-level earth element primary stone spike detected. Do you want to learn it? C-level upward attack detected. Do you want to learn it? Su-bai couldn't contain his excitement. He laughed under his breath and kept hitting confirm again and again, greedily devouring every single skill. This, he told himself, was exactly why he had come here. 10 minutes later, the exhausted magician was finally enveloped in a soft glow of healing magic. Su-bai, who had been standing off to the side, stifled a yawn and thought to himself that it was about time. They had spent all this while training, and he had only just finished mastering a few new skills before boredom started to set in. At that moment, a guard approached respectfully and informed the city lord that the brave had been waiting. Black Ryan, the lord of Lim City, froze in surprise. He repeated the title as if testing his own ears, asking whether the man before him was truly a brave. He then requested to see proof of identity. The glowing notification above Su-bai clearly displayed the word brave man. Su-bai gave a short acknowledgement, and the city lord's expression shifted to one of awe. Without hesitation, he lowered himself into a bow, followed quickly by every guard and attendant in the chamber. Su-bai, caught off guard by their sudden reverence, awkwardly greeted them and told them to rise, remarking lightly that the ground was cold. Once he stood, the city lord regarded him with deep respect. He said that it was beyond belief. The brave had finally returned, the first to appear in over 100 years. Su-bai, puzzled, asked what exactly he meant by appearing again after 100 years. Inwardly, he recalled having heard something similar in his previous life, but had never understood the full meaning. The city lord explained solemnly that, according to legend, every century the Tower of God would give rise to an adventurer marked as the brave. That chosen one would pierce through the darkness and one day lead the people toward the dawn. Su-bai, however, brushed off the mysterious prophecy. He was far more interested in practical matters. He told the lord he had come to take on a quest and asked if one was available. For a moment, the city lord hesitated, thinking it was unusual for someone with the title of brave to request a task, especially at only level 10. He suddenly brightened as if struck with inspiration and offered a simple request. His dog had gone missing, and perhaps the brave might help search for it. The reward, he added quickly, could be 10 gold coins. Su Bai's face darkened immediately. To him, this was nothing short of an insult. He glared at the city lord with fiery red eyes, demanding to know if he was being treated like a beggar. The weight of his anger filled the chamber, and even the lord of Lim City, a level 200 swordsman, felt a pang of panic under that oppressive gaze. The magician standing nearby, realizing the tension in the room, quickly stepped forward. He offered an alternative, suggesting that if the brave hero did not mind, he himself had a few quests prepared, most of them rewarding skill points or basic skill books. Inwardly, Orlando Mullen could not help but think that asking the brave to look for a lost dog was nothing short of an insult. Almost immediately, a series of notifications appeared before Su Bai's eyes. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: collect 200 skull flowers. Reward: 10 skill points. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: collect 1,000 skeleton soul fires. Reward: 10 skill points. Su Bai nodded with approval. Not bad, he thought aloud, which made Mullen beam with pride. The magician even chuckled nervously, thanking the brave for the compliment. Another notification soon followed. Magician Orlando Mullen issues a quest: Wizard's Madness Law, Part 1. Reward: 1 random magic book, 10 gold coins. At that moment, Lord Black Ryan seemed struck with inspiration. He announced that he too had a more suitable task for the brave. A fresh notification appeared before Su Bai. Great Swordsman Black Ryan issues a quest: Unusual Movements in the Suburbs of Rim City, Part 1. Reward: 10 skill points. Su Bai's eyes lit up. He instantly recognized this as the main quest of Rim City, a mission that had remained untouched for 10 whole seasons. In his mind, he reflected on how players of this world always focused on tower challenges, overlooking the daily quests that truly shaped their strength. But then another notification drew his attention, one far more enticing than the rest. Great Swordsman Black Ryan issues a quest: Warrior's Guidance. Reward: 50 skill points. The city lord fixed his gaze on Su Bai with a grave expression. With utmost seriousness, he explained that legends always described heroes as unparalleled masters of combat. He asked, with the weight of expectation in his voice, whether the brave would be willing to provide guidance to his warriors. Su Bai immediately understood this was a test, a challenge not just of strength but of reputation. Su Bai asks if this is meant to be a challenge mission and then asks how they plan to compete. He thinks to himself that sparring high-level NPCs isn't appealing, but the offer is too tempting to refuse. The city lord thanks him and offers a handicap. He'll cap their levels and skills. He tells Su Bai not to hold back and to strike as hard as he likes. Su Bai decides to warm up and requests that both opponents be set around level 30. Orlando blinks in surprise and asks if Su Bai really intends to fight 2 people at once. He points out that Su Bai has just returned to full-time play and likely doesn't have many skills yet. Black Ryan agrees that level 30 will cover the basics. Su Bai tells them to stop arguing and fight now. He has other business to do. The 2 high-ranking fighters exchange a look, then quickly switch to a respectful tone, asking the brave to teach them. They remind each other that when the Lord and the Captain once worked together, they felled a level 200 elite boss, a scene rarely seen in a century. Now it's almost time. Black Ryan calls on the brave, and the training ground fills with a tense hush. He channels his aura and lunges with a heavy slash and a charging blow. Su Bai dodges with a blink and moves straight behind the Lord, noting that the timing was good. Orlando responds by spamming primary stone spike, trying to pin Su Bai down. Su Bai warns him not to flash and sidesteps every spike in a blur. The onlookers go silent, then erupt in whispered astonishment. They marvel at how fast the brave moves and how terrifying his power is. The Lord and the magician regroup and plan a combo attack. The training ground shudders as Orlando forms an elementary quagmire, anchoring the field, and Black Ryan winds up for a second stage slash, far more powerful than the first. Su Bai dodges again in a matrix-like weave and tells them bluntly that their strikes are too direct. He tells them to use their heads. The Lord isn't pleased by Su Bai's remark and tells him to come again. Without hesitation, he lunges forward, stabbing continuously in a blur of motion. Su Bai dodges every strike with ease and, in one swift counter, snaps the Lord's sword clean in half. But the Lord isn't done. He warns that there's no place left to hide and unleashes a chained attack, a 3-stage slash so fast it leaves fiery arcs in the air. When he glances at the magician, he realizes the man has already been taken hostage. The spectators gasp gasp, shouting that it's unbelievable. In less than half a minute, the captain has fallen. They cheer, saying the brave hero truly lives up to his title. The magician calls out, urging his lord to move, but Black Ryan hesitates. He wonders if this is really the kind of strength a level 10 adventurer should have. The doubt gnaws at him. What kind of power is hidden inside this man? Determined to find out, he steadies his stance again. He refuses to admit defeat, especially to someone so low-level. The thought alone feels humiliating. With renewed fury, he charges, unleashing a 4-stage slash wrapped in blazing fire. The energy surges towards Su-bai like a burning storm, but before it can land, Su-bai vanishes from sight. In the blink of an eye, he's behind the Lord, his blade glowing as he performs a sword chi flash. The impact sends the Lord sprawling, unable to stand. When the dust settles, even Black Ryan has to admit defeat. Su-bai points his sword toward him and tells him he's still far from reaching his level. Then, as calmly as ever, he opens his interface and checks the notifications. The quest warrior's guidance is complete and the rewards have been received. Of course, rewards are the best part, and Su-bai doesn't waste a second checking them. Meanwhile, the Lord lowers his head, humbled. He admits that when he was young, he'd heard the stories of a hero unmatched among his peers, but he'd never believed them. Now he realizes how narrow his vision truly was. The magician agrees, saying that even if they were both reduced to level 50, the brave hero would still overpower them. That brief exchange of blows was enough to convince them completely. Su-bai tells them that their control over their skills is impressive, and that he'll come to spar again when he has the time. He mentions he has a mission to finish and turns to leave. The Lord only nods and tells him he's always welcome at the mansion. Su-bai waves a hand dismissively, telling them not to bother seeing him off. He promises to drop by again next time, and just like that, he walks out, leaving the stunned guards and the silent training ground behind him. As soon as the match ends, Su-bai rushes past the crowd without a word. He has no intention of chatting with anyone or soaking in their admiration. He just wants to move forward. Behind him, the Lord watches in silence before finally speaking. He tells the magician that Su-bai truly lives up to the prophecy, the one destined to lead them toward the dawn. The magician, still puzzled, asks what that dawn after darkness really means. The Lord simply replies that time will reveal the answer and tells him to wait and see. Outside, the city of Rim stretches vast and busy. Its streets divide into two main circles, the inner district for nobles and the outer ring packed with adventurers. Most players here travel using teleport points scattered across the city. Su-bai moves through the crowd with purpose, thinking that it's far safer and more efficient to focus on learning new skills before taking on quests. He opens his skill panel. His remaining skill points, 50. The screen lists his options in glowing text. C-level basic swordsmanship upgrade requires 20 skill points. C-level uppercut, 20 points. C-level continuous stab, 20 points. D-level primary stone wall, 10 points. D-level primary stone spikes, 10 points. He pauses for a moment, analyzing the synergy between his abilities. Upward jump can combine with continuous stab to create an infinite combo chain, exactly the kind of brutal efficiency he's after. New notifications appear. C-level stabbing and D-level stone thorn are now available. Su-bai decides to learn stone thorn as well. He reasons that, paired with his endless firepower ability, it can be cast infinitely, making monster clearing ridiculously fast. Moments later, a cascade of system messages fills the screen. Congratulations on learning C-level pick. Congratulations on learning C-level continuous stab. Congratulations on learning D-level stone thorn. Su-bai grins as he reviews his updated stats. Character name, Su-bai. Level 10. Occupation, Demon King Hero X. Strength, 500. Agility, 500. Constitution, 500. Spirit, 800. Health, 5,000. Calculated as Constitution times 10. Magic value, infinite. Demon King passive. Physical attack, 2,000. Brave bonus, plus 100. Magic attack, 3,200. Demon King bonus, plus 100. Professional traits, all weapon mastery. Brave. Can learn any non-magical skill. Proficiency instantly maxed. Endless firepower. Demon King. Can learn all non-physical skills. Cooldowns are removed entirely. Skills. C-level uppercut. Level 20. Maxed. Launches enemies into the air. 10-second float duration. C-level continuous stab. Level 20. Maxed. Executes 10 rapid strikes within 3 seconds. C-level stone stab. Level 1, conjures 3 piercing stone spikes. Su-bai studies the numbers and smirks to himself. These stats may look ridiculous for a level 10 player, but that's exactly what he is, the hero with the power of a demon king. Apart from his skills, Su-bai's equipment list shows 3 powerful items: the Clock of All Things, Supreme Artifact, Fire Dragon Fist +1, perfect level, and Chain Purple Gold Armor +1, perfect level. As he examines them, he quietly remarks to himself that having a high-thinking attribute truly makes a difference. Every skill level seems to increase by 10, and all martial arts proficiencies are instantly maxed out. He feels a rush of satisfaction as he thinks that, with this combination, even the land of the dead would pose no problem. Confident, he decides to head there next. When he arrives at the teleportation gate, the guards on duty ask where he intends to go. Subai thinks for a moment and recalls that most of Orlando's missions take place in the land of the dead. He tells the guards his destination. One of them informs him that the teleportation will cost 80 copper coins and warns that the return trip will cost double. Subai frowns slightly and thinks about how expensive traveling is. If he keeps teleporting like this, he might just go blind from all the costs. Moments later, a flash of light engulfs him, and he finds himself standing in the land of the dead souls. The place is dark and eerie, with an icy wind cutting through the desolate air. He mutters to himself that it feels far more realistic than any game he's ever played. Looking at the single weapon he kept after selling all his other gear, Subai thinks that he'll just have to make do with it for now. The chill of the place seeps into his bones, and for the first time he realizes how cold this world can be. He regrets not bringing more layers, but tells himself it'll be fine, as long as the cold doesn't turn fatal. Subai looks around and goes, kind of confused, as he notices a new monster walking toward him, a skeleton warrior. It's an ordinary type, level 21, with 260 attack, 150 defense, and 3000 HP. The skills are pretty basic too, just slash and block. Since these guys have a bit more health, Subai decides it's a good chance to test out his new skills. He waves at the skeletons, basically telling them to come at him, ready to see what his upgraded powers can do. The moment they rush in, he fires off a bunch of stone spikes that go flying straight into their skulls. Clean headshots. Each one drops instantly. 3 skeletons go down in one move, then for more than 6. No matter what he uses, every single hit lands as a critical, wiping them out in one shot. He starts laughing, totally enjoying himself. With over 3000 magic attack power, it's no surprise everything's getting deleted. Notifications keep popping up like crazy. Plus 500 XP, plus 100 bonus XP, again and again. But Subai's not done yet. He draws another magic circle, launches even more spikes, and says to himself that this is what real monster farming feels like compared to the early game. Soon, another notification appears, congratulating him for reaching level 11 and getting 20 more skill points. He remembers how, back in his previous life as a hero, even 10 points was considered insane for an F-class profession. Most people only got 1 per upgrade. Now he starts wondering if having 2 classes means even the skill points are doubled. He opens his panel and checks his stats. Strength 510, Agility 510, Constitution 510, and Spirit 820. Leveling up adds 10 points to everything, and he can't help but think that this X-level class might be even scarier than the so-called SSS level ones. Meanwhile, more skeletons keep coming from all directions. Subai doesn't even flinch. He fires another wave of stone spikes and then raises a stone wall, laughing to himself about how dumb these monsters are. He knows he'll need to find more quests that reward skill points if he wants to keep pushing his power even higher. As Subai looks up, a notification pops in front of him saying the collection of skull fire, 1000 out of 1000, has been completed. The message also reminds him to turn in the task on time. The reward? 10 shiny new skill points. He smiles to himself, thinking that finally, one task is done, though there's still a long road ahead. Before he can even relax, more skeletons start crawling out of the shadows. Among them, he spots a much larger one, the kind of monster that just feels like trouble. The name floating above its head confirms it. Skullfire, an ordinary boss, level 48. Physical attack 1000, defense 800, and a massive 500,000 HP. The skill list isn't short either: soul absorption, sacrifice, stomp, and critical strike. Without wasting a single second, Subai raises his hand and launches another round of stone spikes. He laughs and says something to himself about how the more that come, the more fun this gets. His attacks tear through the skeleton army like paper. 18 go down in seconds, then 23, then another 40. The regular monsters can't even process what's happening. They keep charging, but every single one is getting deleted in an instant. At some point, even the boss seems to notice how bad things are going. The remaining skeletons start gathering around it, almost like they're having a quick team meeting mid-battle. Subai watches them closely, a bit curious. He wonders if this is some kind of special move, but then he reminds himself, with his infinite magic power, there's nothing they can really do against him. A few moments later, he realizes what's going on. The skeletons aren't retreating, they're sacrificing themselves. The more they offer, the stronger Skullfire becomes. Subai's expression shifts from confident to intrigued. He mutters in his head that this might actually get interesting. It seems like the boss is preparing something huge, something dangerous enough that even he might need to stay on guard. Still, Subai can't help but find the situation a bit funny. He thinks that the boss should have probably tested a few smaller attacks first instead of jumping straight into the big one. Now that all its minions are gone, it's all or nothing. He grins, feeling that mix of danger and excitement, and says with a smirk that he's ready for whatever comes next. He quickly activates his levitation skill, getting into position as the ground starts shaking. The air around him fills with energy, and Subai prepares to counter whatever move Skullfire is about to unleash. Subai keeps hurling spike after spike, each one slamming straight into the boss and chopping away another 5,000 HP at a time. He doesn't even think about stopping. He's grinning, enjoying every second, telling himself that it's not over yet. The boss, on the other hand, is starting to look annoyed. It's taking hit after hit, but it's still holding back, waiting for the right moment to use its ultimate move. Seems confident that when that moment comes, Subai's done for. Subai can tell what it's thinking and laughs to himself. He says something like, "Trying to provoke me? Fine. I'll give you another round." Then, without a hint of hesitation, he leaps high into the air, straight toward the giant skeleton's head. While mid-air, he thinks about how convenient his skills are. None of them are charge-type martial arts, so he doesn't have to worry about cooldowns at all. He can just keep spamming them as much as he wants, and later, his next spike smashes right into the boss's skull, landing a clean headshot that knocks off a whopping 20,000 HP in one go. The boss lets out a furious roar, but it's already too late. Subai mocks it a little in his head, saying that maybe if it had relied on its own strength instead of sucking power from others, it could have lasted a bit longer, but now it's just another pile of bones. Moments later, the boss collapses completely. The massive skeleton bursts apart and rains down into fragments all around him. A glowing notification appears. "Congratulations! You've reached level 12 and earned 20 skill points." Subai dusts himself off, smiling, and says something like, "So the second mission finally shows up, huh?" Around him, small skull-shaped flowers start rising from the ground, glowing faintly. Then another notification pops up. Collected, Bonfire Long Sword, followed by another one. Collected, Skill Book, D rank Undead Summoning. That definitely catches his attention. He stares at the skill book and wonders what kind of ability it unlocks. Without wasting any time, he spends 10 skill points to learn it. A new message flashes in front of him. "Congratulations! You've learned D rank Undead Summoning. Effect, summons 3 skeletons from nearby corpses." Subai nods in approval, finding it pretty interesting. He decides to test it right away, and as soon as he activates the skill, the ground starts to rumble. A few skeletons rise from the remains of the fallen enemies, but this time, they're not here to fight him. They're here to fight for him. He checks their status window out of curiosity. Name, Skeleton Warrior Type, Melee Attack, 500 Defense, 500 HP, 6,000 Skills, / Block Duration, 30 minutes. Seeing them line up in front of him like a small army, Subai folds his arms and looks at them with a mix of pride and curiosity, already thinking of all the ways he could use this new skill in battle. Subai looks at the panel and realizes there's no fixed level for his summons. Their strength is based entirely on his own stats. He figures that makes them about as powerful as level 40 monsters, which is honestly pretty impressive. With that kind of backup, he thinks he could just sit back and let his new skeleton army handle most enemies for him. Feeling proud, Subai watches his skeletons line up neatly in front of him and laughs to himself. He thinks that while these summons might not be much help in a one-on-one duel, in a big fight they definitely shine. To test them out, he orders them to start picking skullflowers since that's what he needs for his current quest. While the skeletons obediently go about their task, Subai strolls around casually, enjoying how much easier things have become. A notification soon pops up telling him the flower collection is complete and that he's earned 10 skill points. He grins, feeling satisfied, and thinks to himself that it's nice to sit back and enjoy the results of someone else's hard work for once. He even feels a bit generous, deciding not to overwork his skeletons. After all, they've just been brought back from the dead. Later, he reaches a new area called Death Swamp. The place looks grim and full of fog, and he wonders if the strange creature moving in the distance could be his next possible summon. Without wasting time, he orders his skeletons to attack. They rush forward while he supports them from behind with his magic. The battle ends quickly, and Subai notices a new entry in his log, a skull-horned lizard with decent attack and defense stats. He studies the details and feels pleased with the result. As another message appears saying his summoning the dead skill has leveled up, he becomes curious about how far this ability could go. He wonders if, one day, he might not even need to fight personally anymore. His army could do it all. Just then, some movement catches his attention in the mist ahead. Subai senses something interesting happening and decides to investigate. He mounts his new skull-horned lizard and rides toward the unknown, Subai keeps looking at the monster in front of him, wondering how many creatures were sacrificed just to stitch this one together. The monster suddenly turns and slashes through the air, showing off its terrifying power. Subai quickly jumps back and realizes it's a monster created by a wizard using evil magic. He tells himself that he'll just have to free it from that curse and starts hurling rock spikes at it, the same kind that had easily taken down so many monsters before. But this one is different. The monster swings again, easily swatting away his attacks like they're nothing. Subai can't help but admit that it's a bit impressive. He quickly understands that he'll have to change tactics, since this enemy is clearly not like the others he's faced. This time, he pulls out his dagger and rushes in. His strike lands, and the monster flinches. Notifications pop up showing -3000 HP twice. A small grin forms on Subai's face. It's working. Calling the monster trash, he goes in for another round. This time, his powerful strike lands a massive critical hit, dealing a whopping 100,000 damage. Even the monster doesn't see that coming. Before it can recover, Subai lands more hits, one for 10,000 and another for 8,000 HP, until the creature finally collapses to the ground. Standing tall over its fallen body, Subai mutters that it was massive and hard to handle, then casually picks up some skull flowers nearby. A notification pops up: Quest Wizard's Mad Diary completed. Subai notices another task on his list that has no time limit, so he decides not to worry and just head to his next appointment. At Remo City West, people glance his way, whispering among themselves. They can't quite see his face, but they notice he's carrying a lot of loot and wonder if the stores have been restocked. As Subai reaches out to grab something from a stall, he sighs to himself, thinking that killing monsters all night only earned him 20 gold coins. Breaking records still seems to pay better. But this kind of life isn't sustainable. His forging level is too low. He starts wondering where he could find a high-level blacksmith. Just then, a loud voice calls out his name. A group of people rushes over, and one of them yells for him to stop, accusing him of losing his SSS-level job transfer crystal and still having the nerve to show up in public. Others around them start murmuring, realizing that this is the Subai. Cursing under his breath, Subai quickly covers his face, thinking that the only people who'd still recognize him now must be from the Lin family. There are way too many people around, and Subai realizes he has to get out of there fast. Once he's outside the city, he keeps his face covered, glancing around nervously, hoping no one is tailing him. But it's no use. The group is still following him all the way out, determined to track him down. One of the guys starts yelling to draw attention, calling for everyone passing by to come take a look at Yen Country's famous super rookie. Another one steps up and asks if he's Subai. Subai, still in his mask, points at himself and acts confused, pretending not to understand what they're talking about. He tries to play it off, saying he's just Su, not Subai, but the crowd doesn't buy it. Some start arguing among themselves, joking that there's no real difference between Subai and Sumomo anyway. They mock the one who called him out, saying he's going crazy over every guy named Su. Among them is Jing Pangxian, a level 49 player, who steps forward and demands that Subai explain why he lost the SSS level job transfer crystal. At this point, Subai has had enough. He takes off his mask and tells them off, saying that it's his own item and he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. But the crowd refuses to back off. Someone shouts that whatever players obtain in the Yen Nation's novice zone belongs to the Yen Nation itself. That's the line Subai was waiting for. He tells them that if they really think that way, they can all come at him together. He doesn't have time to waste. Before he can walk away, one of them yells for his team to get ready. Team 1 to attack, Team 2 to provide support, and Team 3 to handle healing. They plan to take him down and claim all his treasures for themselves. In an instant, weapons flash as they surround him. Subai just sighs and gets ready, feeling his adrenaline rise. He figures it's a good time to stretch his muscles. The moment they attack, he unleashes a powerful burst of magic straight at them. It's a critical hit, instant kills across the board. The entire crowd freezes in disbelief. No one can even process what just happened. Even level 30 players are being wiped out instantly. They can't see the cast time, can't follow the motion, can't react. His spells hit before they can even blink. The scene leaves everyone completely shocked. They realize that facing Subai head-on is practically impossible. Even after watching his teammates drop like flies, one of them still believes they can win. He quickly orders the shield warriors to form a defensive line in front of him. The armored fighters rush forward, raising their shields high, trying to block whatever Subai throws next. But Subai is already ready with another barrage of stone spikes. He gives them a cold, serious look, the kind that says, "Don't test me." The shield warriors, still confident, believe their defense is strong enough to handle anything. Then the spikes hit. A loud cracking sound fills the air. One by one, their shields start to shatter. Shock flashes across their faces, Those shields have never broken before. The realization hits them. Even their strongest defenses won't hold up here. From a distance, a few bystanders are watching the scene unfold. They whisper among themselves, wondering if Subai is even human. One of them admits that maybe now it makes sense how he managed to break records back in the novice area. Meanwhile, the stubborn leader refuses to give up. Seeing his front line crumble, he switches tactics and orders the magicians to start attacking from range. The mages immediately begin chanting, firing spells in Subai's direction. Fireballs, lightning, ice, everything they can muster. Subai doesn't even flinch. He casually raises a stone wall in front of himself, blocking every single magic attack. Their spells hit the barrier and fizzle out uselessly. His defense is solid, unbreakable. Then, while they're still recovering from the shock, he starts gathering his own magic. Fireballs, ice arrows, spiked stones, all at once. The look on his face says it all. He's about to go all out. The next moment, the battlefield erupts in chaos. One after another, bright flashes of red and blue explode across the area. Notifications pop up everywhere. Critical hit, instant kill, critical hit, instant kill. It's a massacre. Every single one of them goes down in one hit. The surviving leader watches helplessly as his teammates fall, realizing this isn't just a strong opponent. This is something completely beyond reason. Panic finally sets in. He tells himself that the only thing left to do is run. Maybe that's his only chance at survival. But even that thought feels hopeless. Subai doesn't seem like someone who lets his enemies escape. And just as he turns to flee, Subai bursts forward like lightning, cutting off his path. Before the man even takes a second step, Subai is already standing right in front of him, wearing that same amused grin, as if the whole fight had been nothing more than a warm-up. He strides up, draws his sword, and levels it at the stunned man. He asks who sent him and warns that there's no point trying any stupid tricks this time. There won't be another chance. And you shouldn't miss your chance either. Hit that subscribe button now, or you'll definitely miss the next thrilling chapter.